When you look at overall inflation for the first year of Trump versus Biden, Biden, overall inflation was up 4.3%, higher than Trump, just up 1.6%. Groceries under Biden in that time, up 3.8%, with Trump up 1.3%. And then when it comes to gas, this is crazy. Biden up 24.4%, with Trump it is actually down 5.4%. That is where the biggest difference is. And we heard from the HUD Secretary, Scott Turner, this afternoon. They are racing to cut red tape for construction projects because the belief among officials here is that if housing is the number one place where people are getting killed when it comes to affordability, if people are cutting red tape and able to build more houses and apartments, then the prices will come down. Pretty basic supply and demand in play. Will.
All right, good numbers, Peter Ducey. Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of data out there, and look, what they did, it was not for short-term gain. It was for long-term reordering of the American economy. And if you talk to their people, Bessent and Hassett and the others, they believe what they did with the tariffs, what they did with the tax permanency and other tax cuts in the summer is going to lead to a boom in 2026. The January data suggests that they might be right, but there's other things going on here regarding what kind of jobs we have in America. One of the big things I looked at in the chart today was we have the lowest amount of federal government workforce since 1966. So you have private sector jobs going up, government jobs going down. That was the purpose of what they were doing, to grow the private sector and to shrink jobs. I've been working in Republican politics for 26 years. Every Republican I've ever worked for said they were going to shrink the government. Trump's the only one that ever did it. We literally have the smallest federal workforce since 66, and as a percentage of the overall workforce, the smallest on record. I want more private sector. I want less government. So if you're a Republican and you look at that, you're thinking, gosh, this guy's actually executing on what they always told us they were going to do.
How many other Republicans that you worked for were against tariffs, except for Trump?
Broadly, mostly against tariffs, although Bush, who I did work for, did implement some steel tariffs for a period of time. He did pull them down. But he did implement some steel tariffs. And so did Reagan in the 80s. He did implement some tariffs on Japan. But it wasn't a broad program the way Trump has implemented.
Congressman, a little bit of breaking news. We just got new numbers on CPI. Inflation came in cooler than expected. We're going to actually have a report on this in just a minute. But just the headline is the inflation situation improved a little bit in January. And this comes on the heels of unemployment numbers, jobs numbers that were better than expected. The job situation improved a little bit. What do you think is behind these improvements, this positive direction on a few measurements in the economy?
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure.
Of course he doesn't know why. Oh my gosh, I can't wait till we get the lighting thing fixed in here and have all the dark out curtains put in, because things keep going haywire depending upon the lighting situation of the sun out here. Anyway, good news. We got good news on a Friday, even though it's Friday the 13th. So I'm going to do a contest right now. Okay, so get ready, get your fingers ready, because I'd love to know who knows the answer to this. Welcome, SV. You're back in the house. All right, so today is Friday the 13th. The first person that can tell me what the clinical name for Friday the 13th fears are will win a new hat. First person. What is the clinical term for Friday the 13th? Dan. I'm looking. I know people are Googling it. I can't believe people didn't have that right off the top of their head. What was the clinical name for your fear of Friday the 13th? Come on, people. Wait, I'm looking for the answer. Still don't see one. I'm going to have to tell people the answer, and so that SB can know who to look for. The answer to the question is... there it is. I think it's James Day. I see James Day, SB, James Day, triskaidekaphobia. Okay, so put that in your pipe and smoke it today. You've learned something. I think James was first. Somebody else could have been first. But since I said James's name out loud, we'll go ahead and give it to James, even if he isn't first. But SB, if you or Roaring Rage or I think Beth is here. I don't know if she's got a showing today. I almost said her real name, Roaring Rage, SV. Triskaidekaphobia. Don't tell me I don't ever tell you something that you guys don't know. There's some news for you right there, and you get a hat. You're going to have to give Espy or one of the mods your email address so Ashley can get a hold of you, which she will be here in a few hours. I am so psyched. She and the kids will be here. So this weekend, I can't promise any shows. Going to spend some time with the babies and have some fun and go to the beach and everything else. But today, we're going to be talking some really, really good news. I just started it off. More economic, amazing numbers. And the more these numbers come out, and then, of course, as soon as the numbers change, the stock market bounces, gold bounces, silver bounces, because they don't know what's going on. Every single one of these people who set forecasts and projections and expectations, they've never had to deal with the guy like this. He's completely out of the box. It's also today is the day we're supposed to experience a shutdown. Let's see what happens. Wink, wink, wink. Let's see what happens. After all, it is Friday the 13th. Who knows what may happen? So here we go with all this stuff again, with the shutdown and, the man who shall remain nameless, who, had an island and everything, who we don't want to talk about. Not because we don't want to care. I don't even know what to care about right now. And I'll get into that later. We shall talk about that. But things are going well, even on that side of the fence as well, which we will talk about. And then, of course, later on, we're going to give you the big bear trap. I mean, absolute bear trap that Pam Bondi launched, which has got these people freaked out. But now you know, without any equivocation, without any doubt, now you know why these people are freaking out. They have nothing to offer Americans. They wake up and they see this information about the economy and they just go, oh God, how can we BS people about this? How can we BS people even more than when we've been BSing them? I want to show you one thing that's extremely funny in terms of talking about BSing somebody. I posted this and I go, are we really in an episode of Punk'd? And those of you who don't know what Punk'd was, it was Ashton Kutcher's show, which was formulated after Candid Camera. Because I feel like we're being punked. I really feel like they're just gaslighting us to the point where you really have to sit back and go, did I just read that? That can't be true. So I want you to read this, and this is something you'll recognize this person. This is Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton says, are you one of nearly 70 million American women who changed their names when they got married? Republicans in Congress want to make it harder for you to vote. And I sat back and went, yeah, we're being punked. We are being absolutely punked. The former Secretary of State, ran for president, 28 times and lost. Recently ran against Donald Trump, ran for president. And I think they think that you don't have any memory to know that her name was not Hillary Clinton. Her name is Hillary Rodham. She got married, she changed it to Hillary Clinton. And she became Hillary Rodham Clement, HRC, for a while. Now she's just back to Hillary Clinton. So it made me wonder, self, how the hell did she vote? How did she become Secretary of State? How did she vote for herself in the presidential elections? All 30 of them that she ran for. You see, the only way these people exist is by telling lies and hoping you don't remember. And this one was the biggest one for me because it was so blatant. Married women can't vote if they change their name. Didn't you change your name? Either this. There's only one of two things. Either these people are just so crafty at gaslighting, or they're a shitload of stupid-ass Democrats. Maybe both. To read that from her, of all people, knowing that her name they all voted for, I'm with her. I'm with her. Hillary Rodham Clinton. Now she didn't even leave the Rodham out. It's just Hillary Clinton. And somehow she's telling other married women it's tough all of a sudden. What have they been married? 75 years? So she changed her name a long time ago and it was okay. She's been voting, right? Voting for Democrats. But now in 2026, with all the technology in the world, it's just not fair. Instead of just saying, hey, ladies, here's how I did it. But now she can't go there. What an absolute moron. So what's coming up today? I got all that stuff to show you. Then, depending on which of the feeds I can believe, President Trump is going to be in Fort Bragg at 1:30 or 2 o'clock. He shall come on. Of course, he's going to come on right when I'm probably getting ready to go on. So, further my show. So we'll cut to him as soon. He's going to be in Fort Bragg with Melania. I believe they're going to be talking to military families, obviously. So we'll take that as soon as he comes on. But before we get to that, and before I turn into the show, as you can see, guys, I am dressed with my bearskin hoodie. My bearskin hoodie, even though it's very nice here down in South Florida, in the mornings, it's still chilly. Like right now, I think it's like 82. It's so weird. It's like 82, 83 right now. Robin's in a pool. But when you wake up in the morning, it's like, hey, man, it's kind of chilly. It's 54 degrees out here, which I know 54 degrees to some of you guys is like very shut up. But to us, it's cool. So if you've never heard the bearskin hoodie, this is it. This is the bearskin hoodie. And smart people have been grabbing theirs right now, especially in the areas of the country where it's still cold. And if you live in the South, buy one for somebody who lives up north. I've given one to the grandson. When it's already freezing isn't the time when you want to be shopping. You want the gear that actually keeps you warm. Bearskin is running a 60% off deal right now. 60% off. Still, way after Christmas, still 60% off. So you can finally upgrade that sad excuse for a hoodie that you've been suffering in. Toss it aside. These hoodies are built for serious cold weather. It's got 340 GSM of bearskin fleece, which means it's extremely warm. It's got pockets. They say there's 10, but I think there might be even more. There's pockets all over this place to put your phone, your keys, anything when you're out hiking or running. It's got a muscular fit. I love the way it looks on me. And it even zips into a heavy storm rain jacket to turn into full winter weatherproof armor. Those people out in Arizona searching for Savannah Guthrie's mom still on day 95 would love to have this probably. If you're traveling, hunting, or just hate being cold, this is the last hoodie you'll ever need. You also get free U.S. shipping, fast delivery, and you're finally going to be set properly for winter and cold weather during the spring wherever you are. That's a win-win. So do yourself a favor and text the word Barry to 36912 to lock in your 60% off offer. Again, text Barry to 36912. Once you do that, you'll get a link straight to your phone so you can check it out later if you're busy right now or watching the show. And when you shop with Bearskin, you're not just getting killer gear, you're also supporting the fallen outdoors and the Hope for Warriors Veterans Program. So don't wait till you're freezing. Get another hoodie. Get a bearskin. Call right now. Not call, but text 36912 for 60% off. I'll be right back and we'll get into the show.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Hey, everybody. I'm ready to start the show, but a vendor to work on the house just showed up. So I got to preempt a little bit. I'm going to put on a press conference being held right now with Kristi Noem so I can go take care of this. And I will be back as soon as I possibly can. Talk to you in about 5 minutes.
The reason why more than 80% of Americans support these measures, and that's because they work and they're common sense and they build trust into the system. It's common sense that our elections should belong to the American people, that they should be the ones who get to vote, whose votes are counted, that they get one vote, not more, not less. It's common sense to make sure that foreign nationals don't vote in our elections, don't elect our leaders, and have a say in how our country runs. They don't and should not be allowed to be trampling on the voice of the American people, and will no longer allow American citizens to be disenfranchised, to have their voices suppressed by criminals, by hostile foreign actors, and by illegal aliens that shouldn't be here in this country. It's a fact that non-citizens have been voting in our elections. They've been registered and they have voted from state to state. For example, one of the most recent individuals that we've talked about is Ian Andre Roberts. He was an illegal alien from Guyana that was arrested by ICE while serving in Des Moines, Iowa as the school district superintendent. Perhaps you remember hearing about that arrest. Despite him being here illegally in this country, he was registered to vote in Maryland. He had a long rap sheet also of criminal charges, including narcotics possession, second and third degree possession of a weapon, and criminal possession of a forgery instrument. In Coldwater, Kansas, we had an illegal alien that was able to vote and was even elected as a mayor. He was charged by the Kansas Attorney General last fall for voting without being qualified and to election perjury charges thanks to assistance from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services Agency. As it stands, current guidelines for the National Voter Registration Act effectively stop states from going forward and checking citizenship during registration. The Save America Act would fix this. It would make sure that we close those loopholes and that we ensure in American elections only Americans vote. Critics assert that the Save America Act will somehow hurt American voters. That's just absurd and absolutely not true. One of the claims that they have made in criticizing this bill is that they say that newly married women would be disenfranchised because they've had a name change. Well, there's many women out there, including myself, who've been married and changed our names when we re-registered to vote. And likewise, the idea that this bill would make it impossible for U.S. service members to vote if they're deployed overseas, well, that's completely false as well. For all of those procedures that are in place today continue to stay that way after this act is passed and signed into law. They also say that this act requires voters to have a U.S. passport to register. That's not true. There's many multiple options that are given to provide proof of citizenship, including military ID, government ID, photo ID with a proof of birth and location. In fact, if an individual has no documentation, they have the option of appearing at an election office and providing an affidavit stating that they are a citizen of this country. Now, another ridiculous conspiracy theory that we've heard is that the federal government will remove people from state voter rolls. Well, that's just simply not true. That state and local election officials do the registration, and they maintain these lists going forward. We just help them do their job and make sure that they're doing it correctly. Each of the arguments that have been laid out to criticize this bill are baseless speculation from the radical left because they want illegal aliens to vote in our elections. They want to disenfranchise American citizens by telling them that their votes don't matter. There's only one reason that anyone would oppose this bill, and that's because they would want to cheat. They want illegal people and aliens in this country to be able to vote for them and to rob the United States citizens of their vote. And that's why they resist us at every single level when we're trying to deport people back to their home countries or stop them from committing crimes against the American people. That's why they do not support voter ID, proof of U.S. citizenship, or clean voter rolls. That's why the Save America Act is absolutely critical to our country's future. Because without secure elections, we lose what makes our country so great. And then when we lose that, we lose our country altogether. Almost 200 years ago in 1833, a Supreme Court Justice Joseph Story warned us with this. And he warned us this about illegal entry into our country. If aliens might be admitted indiscriminately to enjoy all of the rights of citizens at the will of a single state, the Union itself might be endangered by an influx of foreigners, hostile to its institutions, ignorant of its powers, and incapable of a due estimate of it.
All right, so I'm back, but you guys have to let me know if you want me to stay with this or would you like me to start in on the show? Maybe we should start with keep this on because I'm looking on the screen and it looks like President Trump may be due up at any minute or so. So I don't want to get into everything I want to talk about. Oh, look here, let me show you. Looks like Air Force One just landed. Hold on, let's see if I can pull to it. Nope, can't see it. But anyway, he's getting ready to come on. The plane just landed. Let's stay with Christy for about 5 more minutes. But he'll be getting off the plane any second at this point.
Winter at Valley Forge as well. They did all of this because they wanted to ensure that their people, their families, and that their descendants could continue to live freely and could govern freely. If we don't uphold this bedrock principle of representative government, then our nation's choices will be decided by illegal aliens, by criminals, by foreign actors, and people that don't support America being the greatest country in the world. Our nation's choices, instead, if it were allowed to degrade our election system, would allow illegal aliens, criminals, and others to undermine our country. This kind of election security is something that the government owes to the American people, and it's something that we, the American people, owe to ourselves. We need to pass the Save America Act. We need to pass it today and sign it into law to ensure that the integrity of our election system stays in place for years to come. May God continue to bless this great state, the great people who are working to make sure that everybody's vote matters and that it counts. May God continue to bless the great United States of America. Thank you. With that, I will open it up to any questions that you may have. Yes.
Arizona already requires proof for citizenship, and there have been repeated audits that have found that there is no widespread fraud happening in Arizona. Do you worry that emphasizing election security threats without evidence could undermine public confidence? And how do you ensure that messaging doesn't further any misinformation?
We have a SAVE program that is available to the state of Arizona that the state of Arizona could ensure through their Secretary of State that every county has access to and allow them to go back in and verify those individuals that are on the voter rolls today to make sure they should be voting in the elections that come forward. That's what I would encourage the Secretary of State to do, and I'll be sending out mitigation measures that can help build promise back into that system to maintain the critical infrastructure that is our elections. Now I'm still in charge of the Department of Homeland Security. That includes all 23 different agencies under our umbrella, including ICE and CBP, but also FEMA, TSA, Secret Service, the Coast Guard, many, many more.
Secretary,
yes, over here.
Secretary Avanto has recently posted a video regarding the DOJ wanting more information on Arizona voters. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that would be a wonderful opportunity for him to be transparent and to ensure and promise the people of Arizona that they can trust their elections, and that when they show up on election day, they'll get to vote without problems or hassles, that they'll be prepared to make sure that vote counts and that the correct results are announced.
Secretary,
That's right here. I'll come to you next.
You offered a couple of examples from Kansas, Maryland, and Iowa and such. Can you offer us any good examples of this kind of fraud in Arizona?
Oh, I'm sure there's many of them, but we want to make sure that we talked about several of them this morning at our roundtable that we had. We talked about individuals that may be registered to vote in this state but truly live in another state. I understand that you have mobile homes and boats on lakes that individuals may have as their voter registration address, but not necessarily that is where they live. They live in another state, such as California or on the East Coast. Those kind of situations are things that your county officials should be bringing forward and be asking your Secretary of State for the opportunity to take off the voter rolls if they shouldn't be there.
Secretary,
Oh, right here. Sorry.
why choose to do this press conference this way? Your agency is about to run out of funding. We were just here in Arizona last week at the border, and obviously you bused all of us to a secure facility, and I'm curious as to why choose to do this press conference this way on something that doesn't seem top secret.
Oh, my goodness. This is our critical infrastructure. So one of the things I think is good for all of you to know is that the Department of Homeland Security's mission is to defend the homeland, which means that even on our worst day, should we have an attack, a terrorist threat, if something disastrous happened to our country, the agency of FEMA under the Department of Homeland Security is responsible for running our government, which means that according to law, the authorities that are under this department is maintaining our critical infrastructure, which means it's my job to make sure that our electrical grid is sustained and intact and operational, that we ensure that we protect our cybersecurity. Any kind of manipulation or threats we face on anything that's said or done on the internet is my responsibility. Our water systems, making sure that people have the water that they need for their communities to live and take care of their families. And elections is another one of those critical infrastructure responsibilities that I have as well. And I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country through the days that we have, knowing that people can trust it. That's why you're here. For me, I do press conferences because I want to be transparent and let you ask questions and have conversations. But I hope that you do recognize that in the past, your state has been an absolute disaster on elections, that your leaders have failed you dramatically by not having systems that work, by disenfranchising Americans who wanted to vote, that had to stand in lines for hours because machines failed or software failed. There's no state that could use more improvement than Arizona. And you should be asking all of your leaders what they're doing to fix the system. What are they doing to make sure that individuals in this state can trust that their vote is going to be taken, that it's going to be counted, and that it's going to matter to make sure the right people are in charge? Yes. Right over here? Yes.
In Arizona, we already require proof of citizenship to register to vote, but we also allow members of our tribal nations to use their enrollment documents to vote. Under the SAFE Act, they wouldn't be able to do that.
The tribal IDs are recognized. Tribal IDs.
But most tribes don't have tribal IDs, not with photos and places of birth.
There's many different options that can be used. Now, remember, the SAVE Act only says that you need to prove your citizenship when you register to vote. It does not say that you have to prove your citizenship and able to go and vote. When you go vote on that day, you need to have a photo ID. And many times in Arizona here, you do have that requirement on your voter rolls. However, I understand that you need to go back and clean up your voter rolls. We have a program through the Department of Homeland Security that's called the SAVE program that your Secretary of State and your governor can use today to clean up voters on your rolls that shouldn't be there. Maybe people who've passed away, people that aren't citizens, people that don't live here. And that would make sure that in your next election, when people are casting their votes, they know they're voting for the right decisions, and that those votes are counted, and they're counted appropriately, and someone else didn't get to weigh in on their leadership. Yes, last one.
Regarding the El Paso airspace closure, can you confirm that CBP actually hit a party balloon that thought was a drone with a laser earlier this week, as it was reported? And if that is true, why wasn't the action coordinated with the FAA?
You know, this was a joint agency task force mission that was undertaken, and we're continuing to work on the communication through that, but recognize we're grateful for the partnership with the Department of War and the FAA as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
That was Kristi Noem, and I believe now what they're getting ready to do is go into Arizona. So they're out of Minnesota in big time, but now they're going to Arizona, which some people say might even be worse, which is why the people in Maricopa are completely freaking out, because the idea of ICE going there is probably scarier than just what happened in Minnesota. So expect, just so you know, you can expect all the nuts to migrate west and go out to Arizona. The entire paid program is now going to relocate out in Arizona as things getting ready to happen there. I'm looking to see if he's coming on yet. Not as of yet, so I'm going to take a quick break and we'll get into our show.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
I guess I'm going to have to push my show back even further. Melania is on stage.
Of the United States station all over the world. I have nostalgia feel.
To the hills of Tennessee.
Thank you, everybody. I love that song. I must say, I was really referring to the song. They turned it off. That's terrible, but that's all right. Honey, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Please. So we have an amazing group of people before me. Amazing. And very proud of you. Somebody said, I was just watching a little news coming down. They said, oh, it's amazing he can find the time in his busy schedule. Believe me. You're the time. My schedule's not the time. Although we do have a couple of interesting things happen. We just had fantastic reports on inflation, way down. Costs of products, way down. We inherited a mess, total mess, and now it's really coming along. We have the greatest numbers that we've ever had. We're hitting all-time high stock numbers. We're hitting all-time high S&P and Dow numbers. You saw that a few days ago. The end of the first year. They said that it was going to take maybe 4 years, the end of the term, to hit 50,000 on the Dow. We did it in 1 year. And likewise, to hit 7,000 on the S&P was going to take at least 4 years, could be 5 or 6. We did it in 1 year. So, and all I know is forget about the stock market, forget about Wall Street. Your 401ks are doing very well. I don't have to ask you. Is anybody doing poorly with their 401k? If they were, you're a pretty bad investor, I'll tell you. But I want to thank Melania. Our country is truly blessed to have such a phenomenal First Lady. And now she's a movie star on top. Can you believe? She did a movie. It's the hottest thing you've ever. It's crazy. Congratulations, by the way. Very good. You know who loves that movie? The ladies. They go see it 3-4 times. That's what I heard. They go see it with the husband. Husband really likes it a lot, but the women go back and see it. But she's a great First Lady. And I'm thrilled to be back on one of the greatest and most celebrated military bases in the history of the world, Fort Bragg. We have your name back. We got your name back from the radical left. The radical left is not happy about it. It's another reason you have to vote for us, because they'll change it back to whatever it might be. This is the home of the legendary Green Berets, the home of the Sky Dragons, and the All-American 82nd Airborne. And in particular, I hear that we are joined by many exceptional soldiers from the 1st Brigade Combat Team, also known as the Devils in Baggy Pants. What's that all about? The Devils, they are devils. And you are devils, I will say. And I have no higher honor in life than to be your commander-in-chief. I'm so proud of you all. And so let me begin by saying a very, very big thank you to our great warriors and the men and women of the United States Army. Unbelievable. Very special thanks also to all of the incredible military families who are here today. You know, without that family, our soldiers would not be the same. It's a whole big deal. I don't think they get enough credit, but they do get credit with me. That's why I sent you 1776 a couple of weeks ago, a little while ago. We had a lot of money coming into our country from tariffs, and I said, let's send a little to our, so, you know, they came in, they said, sir, we can do 1,775. I said, oh, that's good. They put the number. I said, you know, if we add one more dollar, it's 1776. I said, add a dollar. Add a dollar. Did everybody get 1776? I think so, right? You think the Democrats would have done that? Forget it. But it's really because of your incredible sacrifices to keep America safe and free. There's nobody more respected than the people in this room. We're also joined by General Gregory Anderson, General Brandon Tagmeyer, Secretary Howard Lutnick, Senator Ted Budd. He's doing a fantastic job, too. Members of Congress, Mark Harris, Pat Harrigan, Brad Knott, David Rouser, Addison McDowell, and your own congressman from right here in the district, a really great guy. He's a real leader, too. Richard Hudson. Where are they? Where are they all? Look at them. They're all dressed up. They have to be nice to you, because without your vote, forget it. They're out of commission, right, fellas? But what a good job. And Richard, this is your area. Congratulations. He's always bugging me for more money for Fort Bragg. I said, Richard, get off my back. And we're going to do that. You know, they're talking about a big compound, right? And we're going to get that done. We're going to get it done for you. Now, if the Democrats get in, it's not going to happen. I guarantee you that. But we're going to get that done. That's your number one priority, I think. Richard Hudson. So you have another man who is running for the Senate, who is phenomenal. The only thing is, he's not as well known. He was behind the scenes. He was the head of my 3 campaigns. I won all 3 times here by a lot. It wasn't even close. And he was responsible, along with Laura Trump. Laura is fantastic, born here and loves the area, but they work together. But Michael Watley, if he's here, I don't know. Michael, will you come here for a second, please? He's running for the Senate. And if he gets in, you're going to be taken care of. If he doesn't get in, we're going to be stripping the military like they always do, the Democrats. This is a man who was the head of North Carolina. So he did so well that I said, who is that guy that did so well? Because when it came time to picking the head of the Republican Party, I picked him. And you saw what happened in the last election. We won in a landslide. We won every swing state, all 7 swing states. We won by millions of votes, the popular vote. You know, the first time I won, but they say I didn't win the popular vote. You know I did. I won it by a lot, but they said, and so every time they'd introduce Donald Trump, who didn't win the popular vote, but he, whatever. I said, I don't ever want that to happen again. But we did. We won everything. And this is a man that was in charge of this state. He did so well here. There was nobody else that I even considered to run the RNC. That's the whole country. And we had a big, big victory just recently that you know very well. A victory like they've never seen. So I'd just like you to say a couple of words, Michael. Congratulations.
Thank you. Good to see you. In 2015, Donald Trump came down an escalator and said that he was going to make America great, that he was going to protect our country, that he was going to make sure that our men and women in uniform had what they needed to protect our interests and our allies around the world. And North Carolina stood up and said, that's our guy. And in his term in office and in this term in office, there has never been a president who has fought for Fort Bragg, who has fought for the men and women in uniform in North Carolina, as well as our veterans, more and harder and better than Donald J. Trump, our 45th and 47th President of the United States of America. I am thrilled that he has asked me to run for Senate in North Carolina and is giving me an opportunity to represent you and to fight for you and every other base that we have in this great state to protect our interests, to make sure that America and our allies are going to be protected. Because the highest, most important function for any government is to keep its communities and its citizens safe. And we have the best president right now to do that. And I am honored to be with him today. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Good to see you. And the word is he's doing really well. But when I heard they were taking the name Fort Bragg off, I said, no. They're kidding. That's not going to do. They did. They took the name off. We got it back very quickly. But they took it off. And if we don't win the midterms, they'll take it off again. They'll take it off again. You can't let that happen. And this man is exceptional, I'll tell you right now. So with the help of everyone in this room, America is the strongest military on the face of the earth. We rebuilt it. We really did. We rebuilt it in my first term. We had a great first term. We had the best economy in history, but this is blowing it away. But we had a great economy in the first term. We did everything, but we really created a tremendous military. Now, some of it was given away, actually a lot, but small compared to what we did to Afghanistan. You remember that, where they left all the military equipment behind? We wouldn't have left anything. We were going to get out with dignity and strength, respect. We looked like we were running. We don't run from anybody. That was a Biden embarrassment. What a terrible president. But we came back and we already have rebuilt our military to stronger than it was even then. And we don't leave equipment behind. We don't leave jets behind. I said, why do you leave those jets behind? Sir, I thought it was cheaper to leave it behind. You know, $150 million plane. All they had to do is put a little jet fuel in there and fly it to wherever they want to fly it. These people were the worst. We can't let it happen again. Our military, if the Democrats get in, will be severely misserved. But we rebuilt it in my first term, and now we're making it stronger and bigger and better than ever before. The recruiting is through the roof. You know that after years of recruiting shortfalls, as an example, new enlistments have soared to record highs. We had, a year and a half ago, nobody wanted to join the military. They didn't want to join the Army. You know that. It was like terrible. They didn't want to join the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, or my beloved, how about that, Space Force. Do we like Space Force? It's turning out to be very important. But they tried to end that, and actually the military refused to allow that to happen. But you couldn't get people to join. And as soon as we won the election, that election took place on November 5th. From November 5th on, it was like a miracle. Now we have waiting lists for every branch of the military, waiting lists of people to get in. In other words, your jobs are wanted by everybody. And isn't that a better feeling? I'm looking at the smiling faces. We've got a lot of smiling faces. You should be smiling. Last year, the Navy and Air Force and Space Force all surpassed their recruiting goals by 5 months early, and the numbers are through the roof. In fact, it'd be a very good time to expand. You know, it's a good time to expand. But the Army did even better than the others, and you shattered your annual recruitment by almost 5 months and lots of days. But more importantly, the number and the quality of recruit has never been higher. This year, the Army is beating its recruitment goal by 116%. And I'm very proud of that. I was very embarrassed for a period of years as I watched how badly this country was run, standing outside and hearing constantly that we couldn't get people to join our great forces. We ended the scourge of political correctness in our military. We renamed the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Think of it, we won World War I. We won everything. World War II. And everything before, during, and a little bit after, except we fought a little bit differently. We fought to be politically correct. We were a politically correct force with the presidents. But now we have a real force, and you see that with what we did in Iran with the B-2 bombers. A lot of you were involved in that. And what we did recently in Venezuela, nobody ever saw anything like that happen. A Venezuelan general who was on the site, but he moved out fast enough that he lived, because most of them didn't. But he was on the site. He said, we were totally prepared. We saw the planes coming. We saw everything coming. You know, they're a good, strong force. And he said, we got hit like nobody's. They were hit from 17 different directions. They said, there's never been anything like that. It was over in like literally a minute. Everybody was running for the hills. And that's what we have. We have the strongest military in the world by far. We have the best equipment. We have the greatest people, soldiers. We brought back merit as the sole consideration for advancement and promotion in our military. We won the Supreme Court case, shockingly in that case. It took courage to come up with that decision. It's based on merit. Now you want to get into a college, it's based on merit. It's not based on anything else. You want to get into the military, you got to have a little muscle. You got to be strong, like these people here. It's like you're like central casting. I'm looking at all these beautiful-looking people, but you have to be a certain type to do well. And we were taking anybody that wanted to get in because we wanted to be politically correct. No, it's based on merit now. You get into the military based on merit. And other places also based on merit. There might be advantages to other people in other fields. But this is all based on merit. As long as I'm president, we will be the best led, the best trained, the best equipped, the most disciplined, and the most elite fighting force the world has ever seen. That's what we've turned out to be, and everybody knows it. They all know it. Every country knows it. I speak to all of them. They know exactly what they would be up against. Hopefully we'll never have to test them. And because of our strength and because of what we do, we probably won't have to be tested. That's why this year we're investing also $1 trillion in our armed forces, most we've ever spent. And next year it's being raised. In fact, we're going to be building a number of battleships. You ever hear of battleship? You know, World War II, you saw those big ships, the Iowa, the Alabama, the Missouri, they're going there, sailing through that water like it's nothing. Those big waves are crashing into the front. The hulls are made of 7 inches of steel, not aluminum. Aluminum's fine, by the way. I don't want to hurt the industry. We're doing very well. But I'll take steel. And it's going through those waves like it's a hot knife through butter, right? And it was incredible. It was a great thing. It was a great act of beauty when you looked at that, the scenes, Victory at Sea. I don't know, has anyone ever seen Victory at Sea? Probably the ones that have would have joined the armed forces when you have, but Victory at Sea. And you looked at those battleships. So now we're building 10 of them, initial order, 10. And I said, what about reinstating the old ships? We have some of them in dry dock. Some of them are museums right now, like the Iowas and Rancho Palos Verdes in California. You have a couple of them, and they're still very powerful looking to me. So I said, what about bringing them back? They said, sir, it would be no good. Why do you say that? The new battleship that we have, which I've seen and helped design, I put a little more spirit in the hull, a little more, give me a little bit more hull. I want that ship to look gorgeous, you know. Forget about stealth. They say, oh, it's stealth. They design ugly equipment for stealth. Well, we're designing great-looking equipment, also stealth. But I said, well, what about bringing them back? Sir, the new ships The new battleships that we have almost very soon under construction will be, listen to this, 100 times more powerful than the ships that we got to see in the 1940s. Think of that, 100 times more powerful. We need that. This way nobody messes with us, right? We need it. For every service member in our military, this historic investment also includes a well-deserved, across-the-board pay raise, not including 1776. And at my request just before Christmas, we did and really in honor of the 250th anniversary, we did that little special payment, which everybody appreciated, and it was an honor for me to do it. As part of the one big beautiful bill that we got approved, which was amazing because it really encompasses all 4 years of the term, we'll also be investing over $1 billion to improve on-base housing, and a lot more than that at Fort Bragg. We're going to be doing, if we get the congressman's wish, we're going to be doing a lot more than that. We're also going to spend billions of dollars on improving here and around the area. We're going to make it great because the people in this area have been so incredible. The spirit they had when they changed the name of this base, the spirit, not even military people, they were so proud of that name Bragg. They said, we have to bring it back and keep the area safe. It's a great area. In fact, I'm thinking about moving here someday. Maybe I'll move here with our great movie star. We'll move here with our first lady. We'll move to Fort Bragg. Would you like that, darling? She loves you. It's a possibility. Actually, it's not a bad idea because we love it. But we want to keep this area safe, and we can't do that without the leaders. And your ex-governor is not one of them. It would be a disaster if he got in. And one of the things that I just mentioned and saw, you saw the monster that killed an innocent young Ukrainian girl a couple of months ago, slitting her throat from behind. And this was the man, the governor, that allowed this man to get out and to do that. We don't do that. We don't do that. Everybody knew he was trouble. Many, many crimes, one of the worst pasts I've ever seen. And she sat down, she had her throat slit. And that's not going to happen with Michael Watley, that I can tell you. So I just want to tell you it's very important because our military has to be protected. Our people have to be protected. And they will decimate our military. Every time you come in as a Republican, and a lot of Republicans, they come in, they don't do anything about it. I do beyond what anyone's ever done, not even close. To give you all of the equipment you need, we're also purchasing 30 new and modified Abrams tanks. Still the best tank, right? Still? It was named in honor of Stacey Abrams. Only a few very political people would understand that. Congratulations. Thank you very much for a great name, Stacey. But brand new Abrams tanks, 48 new Black Hawk, Chinook, and King Stallion helicopters, the best in the world, the latest equipment, and 86 armored multi-purpose fighting vehicles, all of the things that you've been wanting to get, all brand new. And we're going to be reviving our strength. We're going to be doing many other things that nobody thought was even possible. And we're actually using that strength to defend the core and vital interests of the United States. And very simply put, America first. You know, it's all about America first. We were putting America last. These people that were running our country were putting us last. We're now America first. And we'll help other countries. We have a very good relationship with NATO, but NATO took advantage of us for many years. We were paying for almost 100% of NATO. Now they're paying their own bills. I got them to pay. We took them from not paying 2% GDP to paying in full 5% GDP. Big difference, like day and night. With the help of our military, we stopped the invasion on our southern border for 9 straight months. 0 illegal aliens have been admitted into the United States, and that's done by the radical left. Those charts are made up by the radical left, so I can't imagine that they could be wrong, because it seems hard to believe we could have had 0. My friends, these are early supporters. I have so many supporters up here. How the hell did you get into the military base? It's amazing. I'm a little worried about that. Let's check security. But no, I have so many. You know, I have women from North Carolina. It's about 50 or 60 of them. And they followed me all over the place. Where are they? Here, they got to be here. Oh, yeah, there they are. They're great. Oh, there they are. There are sometimes 50. And I don't know what the hell's going on with their husband, because they're, you know, traveling to California. They're all over the place. But they've gone to almost 200 rallies. And it's It's so great. It's so great. We have Susie Wiles here also, who's the first female chief of staff, and she's done a fantastic job, and she's standing right next to those great patriots from North Carolina. No, they would go all over. It didn't matter where I was. Sometimes I'd see them, like, I made a speech in London. They ended up being, they must be pretty wealthy. That's all I know, because they do a lot of traveling. But thank you very much for being here and for your support for years, because they were there right at the beginning. 2015, even 2015, before we started, some of them were there before I even announced. They said, he'll be a good president. We need a good president. But they're amazing patriots. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And last summer, I ordered devastating strikes on Iran's key nuclear facilities and something that was called Operation Midnight Hammer. That's exactly what it was. 1 o'clock in the morning at midnight with no moon. You couldn't see a thing. And I got the message, sir, they have entered Iranian airspace. And I got to see it all take place. It was amazing. The B-2s, the flying wing. And I didn't understand the B-2s until then, but now I understand it very well. So does he. We just ordered a lot more. The super-duper new model, right? But they flew in. They were totally undetected. And those pilots, I met the pilots. I had them down to the White House, the Oval Office. I gave them all medals, actually. And I said, did you really like doing this stuff? You know, they're flying into very hostile territory. And they said, sir, we couldn't wait. In fact, they wanted to wait. You saw what was happening. People wanted to wait. And the pilots and their commander called me and said, sir, we're ready to go. Don't worry about that. That weather's nothing. We want to go, sir. We want to go. Now, if it were me, I'd say, take it easy. Let's relax. But, you know, you people have a lot of courage. Amazing, amazing. So we gave them medals. But that was Operation Midnight Hammer, achieving total obliteration of the Iran nuclear potential capability, totally obliterated. And think every single one of those 100,000-pound bombs hit its target, which happens to be an air shaft that goes directly into the facility. I don't think they'll be building air shafts anymore. That's not a good concept. They wanted to get a little air. They wanted to get a little fresh air. It didn't work out too well. No other country on earth could have done what we did. No other country has the weapons. No other country has the skill. No other country has the guts. And no other country has the extraordinary warriors that we have. We have the best warriors in the world, because you can have the greatest equipment, but if you don't have the warriors, the equipment doesn't mean much. Last month, we proved this truth once again when some of our greatest soldiers, right here, to ever live, frankly, successfully captured the outlaw dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, and brought him back to face American justice, where he's now, right now, waiting. And that was an amazing night. People saw that. They've never seen anything like it. You know, it's a pretty military country. It was a big base, one of the biggest bases in South America, where he lived. And it was in a matter of minutes before he was on a helicopter being taken out of there. They had to go through steel doors. The steels were like, it was like paper mache. You know what paper mache is? That's weak paper. These guys blasted through every door. They got up to him before he got to the big safe, but that wouldn't have worked either, because they had equipment that was going to knock that out in a matter of minutes. But he never got there. It went so fast. Think of it, in a matter of minutes, when people realize what happened, they're looking up and there's the helicopter heading back to aircraft carriers. So that night, the entire world saw what the full military might of the U.S. military is capable of. And that was a unbelievable operation, but that was a smaller operation. But it was so precise, so incredible. Nobody thought a thing like that could happen. They even talk about the discombobulator because they never got a shot off. The Russian equipment didn't work. The Chinese equipment didn't work. Everyone's trying to figure out why it didn't work. Someday you're going to find out. But it didn't work. It's nice when you can fly in and not get shot at. Although we did have 3 helicopter pilots who were wounded pretty badly in the legs, landing, and a couple of machine gunners seemed to have made it through a thicket of bombs, but they were taken out rapidly by our snipers who were stationed on platforms, actually unbelievable helicopter platforms all the way the line, and they were taken out immediately, and those pilots were incredible and really brave. I may see some of them very shortly. They were hit pretty bad in the legs, they're landing a big chopper and they're being shot at from close range by a machine gun. So that's not a comfortable feeling. They landed it perfectly and they got out of there perfectly, and they're just brave guys and very talented, skilled people. With your help, America is winning again. America is respected again. And perhaps most importantly, we are feared by the enemies all over the globe. They fear us. And, I don't like to say fear, but sometimes you have to have fear because that's the only thing that really will get the situation taken care of. We have a situation right now where we sent a very big carrier group to Iran. I'd love to see if we could make a deal. They've been difficult to make a deal. I thought we would have had a deal last time. They wish they did, and that's where we did Midnight Hammer. But with the restored strength and the tremendous power that we've now built up over the last number of years, even though there was an interlude with Biden, who is the worst president in the history of our country. But the interlude, fortunately, was ended quickly, and we started the process again and built upon what we had already done the first 4 years. But we're also bringing peace all over the world. I ended 8 wars in just 10 months. 8 wars are ended, and we have a couple of more to go, but one in particular, Russia-Ukraine. It's a mess. It's a horrible thing, and I think we'll get there. It takes 2 to tango. You have to remember that, and we have to get there. Tremendous casualties, number of casualties. There's a war that if we were involved in that war, it would have been over very quickly and effectively, but we're not, fortunately. In fact, we're not spending any money. We are spending and sending weapons to NATO, and because of the increase from 2% to 5% of GDP that the NATO countries are paying, they pay us full for the weapons, and then they distribute the weapons to mostly, I guess, Ukraine, but that's up to them. They buy them, and we do make the greatest weapons of any country in the world by far, most effective weapons. So my message to all of the warriors here today is that your commander-in-chief supports you totally. I support you more than, I know you've had a couple of good ones, not that many if you want to know the truth, but we support you more than any of them. And you're going to get out, and when needed, you're going to fight, fight, fight. You're going to win, win, win. And we're going to continue to make our country bigger and better and stronger than ever before. And that's exactly where we are right now. We are the most respected country anywhere in the world. And I say it, the King of Saudi Arabia told me when I was there, he spent $2 trillion. We have $18 trillion being invested right now in our country from other companies and countries all over the world. The most any country's ever had is $3 trillion. That was a long time ago, and it didn't happen to be us. It was another country. It starts with a C. Can you imagine what I'm talking about? China. But we have $18 trillion being invested. As an example, in the Biden 4 years, they had less than $1 trillion. Think of this, less than $1 trillion over 4 years. We have $18 trillion in 11 months because we haven't gotten the final numbers on the 12th month, so that's only going to go up. There's never been anything like it. But the King of Saudi Arabia looked at me and says, a year and a half ago, I thought the United States of America was finished. I thought it was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and you're a very, very big part of it. Thank you to the Army. Thank you to everybody here. Thank you also to our great politicians. They're great leaders, and they love you as much as I do. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
So Elvis has left the building per se. I'm going to give you guys a quick tip, a little, well, it might break some news to you guys. Little, what do you call it? Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the Melania movie yet, you may want to go see that. But in the Melania movie, you always see President Trump doing the Trump dance. There's about a 30-second clip after the inaugurational dance when she walks off the stage and she hits it. She does it a little bit different, obviously, but Melania hits the YMCA dance. It's the only time I've ever seen her do that, and it was cute. It was absolutely cute seeing her let her hair down per se and go ahead and jump into the dance. And just to let you know, a little programming note, Monday I will have Mark Beckman here on the show. He's one of the producers of the Melania movie, and that's one of the questions I'm going to ask him, is that all the events we've seen her at, When the music's playing, she's very stoic. She's very, classy, but she hit the dance. I'm like, how did you guys get her to actually do the dance in that movie? All right, so now after Kristi Noem and President Trump, we're going to get into my show. So don't go anywhere because we have about an hour and a half worth of content that you actually came here for. So let's get into it right now. Let's see. Hopefully everything is straight away because, let me see. Okay, we're good. President Trump referenced this stuff in his opening remarks, talking about how good the economy is. Let's jump in.
It's like the Democrats, even after the president sent Tom Homan there to lower the temperature, meet with the elected officials there, get a plan to cooperate, they still are willing to shut the government down. That means FEMA, Coast Guard, TSA, all of these others, because ICE has already been funded through the big, beautiful bill. What's the White House reaction to that?
That's right. President Trump has been and always will be on the side of the American people. He wants our government to remain open. And unfortunately, it appears that Democrats are barreling our government towards another shutdown for political and partisan reasons. The White House has been very much engaged with Democrats in serious discussions and negotiations over immigration enforcement policy. In fact, we have not only sent counter proposals, but actual legislative text to Capitol Hill in the hopes of coming to an agreement to avoid this shutdown. But Democrats have left Washington, and now the brave men and women of our United States Coast Guard, of FEMA, who are still helping Americans turn their lights on from the recent winter storm, and the men and women of TSA that work diligently to keep our airports moving and keep flights efficiently going, are going to go without a paycheck. Remember, these are American workers who went 43 days without a paycheck in the last shutdown because Chuck Schumer and Democrats wanted to play partisan politics with Democrat funding. It's unacceptable to President Trump and the White House. We've made every good faith effort to try to keep the government open. And of course, the brave men and women of both ICE and CBP will also go without pay unless we can find a way with the One Big Beautiful Bill funding to get them the money they.
I wanted to stop there. So she dropped a little bit of nugget. She goes, they're going to go without pay unless we can find a way to do it. So it tells you right there, they've been looking at Plan B all along to make sure that these guys, at least with ICE and CBP, get their money. I also got to believe they've also had Plan B ready for TSA and Coast Guard. They're not going to let the coast of the United States be unguarded per se. That's not going to happen. So the Democrats, who are trying their best to put people in danger by trying to defund DHS and CBP and ICE and the Coast Guard and TSA, the Democrats are trying everything they can do to put people in danger. That's what they have to offer the American people, for the sole reason that they don't want people to have to show ID when they vote. See, this is the problem with the media. The media needs to be underscoring that. You need to be underscoring that. Let me understand what you're saying here. You are willing to defund some of the agencies that keep us safe because you don't want these people going after illegals. Is that what you're telling Americans right now? That's the question the media should be asking every single Democrat. Are you willing to mortgage people's safety and make them answer that question straight up? No dancing. It's pretty simple. If you're going to defund all these things, then you are, in essence, making sure that people are less safe. Be honest. Be a big boy, big girl, and say what you really feel. No, we don't want them going after these newcomers. And because we don't want them going after newcomers, we want to make tens of millions of people safe. We don't want people checking people at the airport. We want TSA not to be paid, maybe to not even show up. We want to wreak havoc with the entire aviation of the country. That's what you want? Oh, but you want it to happen after you guys tuck tail and fly to Europe for some reason. But our media doesn't do that. But that's exactly what the Democrats are hoping for. They're hoping that everybody else suffers while they head off to some conference in Europe that they don't even need to be there. Why is Hillary Clinton at the conference in Munich? And these idiots are still talking about kidnapping. This doesn't make any sense. All the stuff that she just said is happening, and they're just still 24/7 kidnapping. You see, at this point, I firmly believe Fox is sold out. They don't want you guys knowing this information either. There's got to be a reason why they've abandoned everything just to talk about this kidnapping. Unless Savannah Guthrie owns a good chunk of Fox, maybe we need to start digging into that. None of this makes sense. I'm seeing everybody's pissed off. Can't even turn on the news. Kidnapping, kidnapping, kidnapping. And if you look over here, it's I can't name the guy who shall be named nameless. But the actual news? No, they don't want to talk about that.
Need so we can continue the important work they are doing to remove violent predators from our nation's communities, which is something the American people want to see happen.
So Democrats, they were celebrating when Tom Homan announced that he was going to pull down the immigration operations in Minnesota. So what does this mean for immigration enforcement? I know a lot of people have been taken out that are here illegally, but there are thousands more. How many was it, Brian? 13?
Yeah, 1,600.
1,600 more that are still there, according to Tom Homan.
And Todd Lyons.
Sure. Well, Operation Metro Surge in Minnesota has been a resounding success. It has resulted in the detention and deportation of more than 4,000 illegal alien criminals. Let me repeat, 4,000 illegal alien criminals just from Minnesota alone. And while the surge is coming to an end, immigration enforcement in Minnesota absolutely will not. President Trump laid out very common sense demands that he wanted to see to calm the situation in Minnesota and solve the problems that we have seen on the ground there. And he deployed Tom Homan to the state to do it. And Tom Homan has delivered on that mission. Two very important points. Number one, Tom Homan and President Trump have achieved an unprecedented level of cooperation from state and local officials in Minnesota. Nearly every single county has now agreed to notify ICE when they are releasing criminal illegal aliens from their jails. This creates a safer law enforcement environment for everyone, and it requires less manpower to detain these illegal aliens on the ground. And
as she's saying this, the reason why it's even being brought up by these three people from Fox is because the Democrats tried to make it that, there was some sort of capitulation, that Trump was waving the white flag. And immediately the media did the same thing. They don't even understand how this stuff is happening. And of course, the Panicans did. Of course, the Panicans completely jumped all over this. You want to know something interesting about the Panicans and the Black Pillars? Let me tell you something very interesting about them. Where we're segueing here, where we're going is we're going to be talking about the economic boom that is happening right now. And I challenge you to go look at some of the people who post online, who are considered influencers, and how few of them are promoting what's happening, are advocating for people's betterment financially. I find it very interesting that some of these bigger names have completely turned their content into algorithmic-based content. They know people like the raw meat. They like the red meat of talking about that dude on the island. They don't care about anything but clicks and likes and numbers so that they can hopefully make as much money as possible. And I think what we need to understand as a group is to recognize that. That stuff, as I've said, as bad as it is, does nothing for you. And then something did happen today, which was extremely favorable regarding that guy, and very few of them even wanted to talk about that. I'm going to get into that later. there's something big that two big things that happened in regards to that whole drama, and very few of them are even talking about that. I cannot believe how many people decided to turn on Trump, which I think is going to be their undoing. I really do. I really think we are going to see these people try to come back and say, I didn't say it, or that's not what I meant, or now that he's doing it, I can, now acclimate myself back over here. Remember that as we move forward over the next couple months. How many of these people go, yeah, that's what I was talking about? No, you're doing it because of the algorithm. You're doing it because Elon Bucks pays you. We know. We understand at this point. That's all this is. Meanwhile, there's such good news coming out basically daily that nobody really wants to talk about.
Number two, in his discussions, Mr. Homan was also able to achieve a level of cooperation with local police to arrest left-wing agitators when they are engaged in unlawful behavior, which has led to calmer situation on the ground. You're no longer seeing videos of these agitators engaging in unlawful activity to break up ICE's operations, which, again, are continuing. Nothing will ever stop President Trump and this administration from targeted immigration enforcement focusing on the worst of the worst criminals in American communities, and that includes in Minnesota.
So the president.
So now watch what happens with Katie Hobbs out in Arizona. I'm telling you, you're going to see it. The buses and everything else, the caravan will be heading to Arizona as soon as they begin launching things. It'll end up in Fulton County because they don't have anything else to talk about. And then today, what's his name? Don Lemon got arraigned. He actually had to go to court. So he'll be out there talking. And then some of the other people will, never mind. I'm not even going to go there because I find myself feeling negative. And I'm thinking, you know what? This is fantastic news.
We got good news when it came to jobs this week or last week. And now today he's going to get his inflation report. The goal is 2%. It was at 2.7, 2.5. What do they tell you? What do the economic experts expect for inside the White House? And what do you think it means overall for the economy?
Well, look, the report will be released in a few minutes, and I can't get ahead of it. But what we do know are the facts. President Trump inherited an economic mess from the Biden administration. Inflation was at a record high 9%. And because of this president's pro-growth policies, inflation has reached a 1.4% annualized CPI rate. That is a remarkable turnaround in just a little over a year. We also see, as inflation has come down, wages have increased under this president. So Americans have more purchasing power, which is the greatest measure of affordability. How affordable things are for you is how much money you have in your pocket. And we're in the middle of the largest tax refund season ever. We've been hearing from everyday Americans across the country telling us they're seeing more money in their tax refund checks this year, thanks to President Trump's no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security, no tax on Social Security policies, which he signed into law last year. So
you see, that's one of the things I wanted to wait. Now, there are things that I don't like that's happening in the administration or have happened. I don't like certain things that didn't turn out like I thought they would turn out. But I also knew, I said to myself, I'm not playing this chess game. I don't know what the moves are. I don't know if this is a bluff, if this is for this. And so the biggest thing I like to do is just wait, see what happens. When people were saying they didn't feel it, I kept listening to what the administration was saying. And they were saying, well, yeah, wait till you see what happens when it kicks in Q1. And we're in Q1, first quarter of the year right now. And people are starting to see it. They're starting to feel it. Before, it's a lot of talk. I don't believe you. We're not sure. We're not seeing anything. And now, almost on a daily basis, we're starting to see it come to fruition, which makes a lot of people look stupid who weren't listening. And so now we're getting closer to tax time, and she and Scott Besson are saying it's going to be the best refund year for everybody. What happens when that actually occurs? When people are like, whoa, wow, my refund was pretty good. What happens is people now are seeing The job market's better. What's happening is now as people are seeing gas prices go lower. How do you keep complaining? Maybe this one isn't, but this one is. But you can see if you look at the broad area of the economy, the numbers keep getting better. Undeniable, which is why the Democrats have nothing to talk about. See, that's your biggest contrast. Every single day you can just say, okay, what do you guys got to say? Numbers good. What do you guys got to say? Oh, that guy and newcomers. You don't have anything else for us? That's it? Oh, yeah, we're going to shut the government down. You have anything that's going to improve our lives? Nope. So if you look at that contrast, what's your answer?
President Trump has continually said the best is yet to come, and we believe we're continuing to head into an economic boom in 2026.
All right, Maria. So here we go. So we came in a jump of 0.2% month over month. The street was looking for a gain of 0.3%. So a little bit less than expected. To be clear here, year over year headline number, Maria, it's the same thing. Actually, we came up higher by 2.4%, and the street was looking for a gain of 2.5%. Look at the markets go. Change in direction for the Dow Jones Industrials. Core month over month, that coming in with a gain of 0.3%.
You see, one of the problems, I know it's a problem, is because she just spoke like Russian to you. She just spoke a language, not necessarily to you, to most people. Most people don't listen to this, and they rely on other people interpreting them. And then it's something that too many Americans have not done their homework and understand what these people are saying. Because if they understood what these people were saying, and they understood it clearly, and they understood it efficiently, competently, you'd be like, oh, this is fantastic. But because a lot of people aren't in the stock market, they're not buying S&P, they don't understand how it actually affects them, individually. And I'm not going to hear and try to convince you. See, that's one of the problems also, is a lot of stuff on X, people try to convince you X or Y. The thing with this is you have to have the impetus to learn yourself. What are these? I don't even understand what these people are talking about. I don't know. The only thing I understand is what's in my bank account, what's in my wallet, and when I go to the store, how do I buy things? Cheaper? Can I get more of it? And the thing with forecasting is most people look at the immediacy of things. I went to the store today and it cost me this much. All right, so what do you think it's going to cost in, 30 days? I don't know. I don't care. That's the objective here, is to move from, because it's such a high level of economics, most people don't take the time to learn it, so they don't know where things are going. When they see the stock market at 50, if you've noticed, the panicans and the black pillars are all saying, Pam Bondi said that the stock market was 50. She's such an idiot. No, actually, you talking about that other stuff is idiotic. You not explaining to people what it means to them is idiotic. You not helping people garner the education to understand how it helps their 401k. They're trying to divert you away from good news.
And as for the year-over-year number on a core basis, let me dig in and get you that really quick. And I'm looking at energy. There's a fall in energy, by the way, here. A loss of 1.5%. Gas down 3.2%. So that's where we saw kind of this shift in this CPI report. This also just kind of flags the overall number we got for 2025 of 2.7%. We always see shelter as an important component of this release, and we are seeing that again, but it really does not outweigh the story that came from that reduction in energy prices. There you go. Here's what the government is saying about where they saw the gains that we had. Shelter, a gain of 0.2%.
She's moving very fast with these numbers because she's well experienced with them. When she's talking shelter, she's talking housing, apartments, real estate, and things of that nature. Things that are in the core index of what's going on with our economy. And she's so excited. And of course, you're going to hear Maria Bartiromo. She's excited. You should be excited. You shouldn't be letting people talk to you down and say that, Pam Bondi said some really crazy things. Well, because it doesn't effing matter. It matters that whoever did what they did, as we've said, I am so tired of people saying we need to name names, and I saw some really bad stuff. And if you saw what I saw, well, why don't you just freaking tell us? This isn't like a sitcom where it's like same time next day I'll say the same thing. I'll have a press conference and say somebody needs to say something. When if you saw it, say it. But they won't do that. And meantime, all they're trying to do is shift Americans away from stuff that they can actually see versus stuff you can't see.
Was still the largest factor in the overall report, and they did see a 0.2% jump in the food index, both at home and away as well. That was a gain of 0.1%. But again, the offset here, sending it back to you, Maria, sorry I'm talking too much, was the offset for energy. Again, that overall energy story is what kept inflation tame for the month of January. Back to you.
And this goes right back to President Trump's policies and how he has aggressively tried to rein in the price of oil and gasoline. You look at this number, better than expected. You attribute it to the price of gas and oil here.
One of the things you can do is go back and listen to things he said. Or Scott Besson have said, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to tweak this. We're going to turn this dial here. And eventually you're going to see this dial that we're tweaking here cause this to happen. And so Maria is trying to let people know this is all a result of what he's been doing for the last year. He told, hey, you'll see it. It's coming. And now it's coming.
And that is why you're looking at the inflation story not hitting the consumer. Even though the underlying price is on the producer level, whether it be copper, silver, gold, etc., have had a good 2025, and those underlying metals that have risen, you're not seeing it passed on to the consumer. The CPI better than expected. That's why you're seeing the market turnaround, and that's why you're seeing this CPI at a very tame level. Attribute it to the president's policies. That was his number one priority when he first came in office for the second time, Cheryl.
Yep, absolutely, 1,000%. And this is where you keep hearing all this rhetoric about the midterms and how the Democrats are going to seize on these opportunities. No.
No. I love how she said that. Everybody keeps saying that Democrats can't seize on shit. They don't have anything. The more people call them out in a press conference, forget all that crap you just said. How are you going to help Americans' lives? We're going to help the poor people get more free shit. Ain't going to work. No. I love how she said that. I'm going to have to clip that. The Democrats keep trying to seize on fantasies and fears. They keep trying to seize on these things, and everybody else, including themselves, are profiting bigly. But they keep trying to tell Americans, oh, it's awful. You're not going to believe what's coming. Well, how many times does this thing have to be wrong? These Democrats know nothing except for their own personal wealth. They seem to be doing that kind of well, aren't they?
As you've mentioned too, Maria, when you see that pass through in the tax returns that Americans are going to see, when you see gas station oil lower, you see gas station prices continue to stay at these low levels. That's it's all the boats rising here, Maria, all the boats. And I think absolutely, this is really good news for the market and also for the economy overall.
Okay, there's no real other way to look at this. It's good news for the economy. And I challenge you, today is Friday. You'll see the Sunday shows. You'll see them talk and different things. As you're looking, see how many people are talking about good stuff for you. It's very simple. We'll reconvene on Monday, and I'm going to ask you that question. Hey, so how much good news did the Democrats talk about? How much good news did the media talk about this weekend? crickets. And there's such a intense push to make you feel afraid that this isn't real. It's all going to fall apart. Well, you know how it falls apart? There's only one way it falls apart. One singular way for this all to fall apart. For these idiots to get back in power. That's it. There is no other way this is going to turn backwards. And I think a lot of people need to understand that. The fruits are bearing, the trees are bearing fruits. It's working. Prosperity is knocking on the door. For some people, it's kicking in the door. Here, let me give you a little side anecdote. You guys know about the house that we purchased, that we did some stuff, we're putting it back on the market. I can't tell you how many people have called and wanted to see it and how many offers were. It's amazing. People are like, can I just put an offer in? Okay. And I don't know how otherwise to tell. The only reason I talk about it is to tell you you're being lied to. It's a coordinated attack on your senses to tell you everything is bad and Trump did this and that. It's not true. I don't know how often you get a chance to talk to somebody who's actually involved in the market, who's buying real estate, who speaks to regularly, and I'm not doing this for any sort of pat on the back, a couple of different billionaires, and everything I hear from them is go, go, go. And then when I talk to other people in the metals market, they're like, hold on, and they tell you the truth, hold on, now. Meanwhile, you get other people telling you, yeah, it sucks, and you know, Pam Bondi, and I'm like, why the hell do people want to hear that? I mean, it's like going to church and somebody telling you, Revelations is here, we're all gonna die. It doesn't matter. No, I want truth, but I also want it delivered to me in information that I can digest, and then I can go look up myself. And so right now, when they keep lying and saying people are paying the cost of the tariffs, I can honestly tell you, I ain't paying any tariffs. Do you know if you've paid tariffs? If you don't know, it means you're not shopping. Oh, this is $2, this is $1. Yeah, I'm buying a $1 one. Except for Heinz ketchup. I gotta have my right ketchup. I don't care. But other than that, Ashley and the kids are coming into town right now. They're actually at the airport. And it was so funny. I was talking to her today and I go, what are we doing tonight when you get in? Are we going to do this, do that? And she goes, and this was so funny because it's indicative of other areas. Can we figure it out when we get down there? And I'm like, you want to walk into a restaurant unannounced in South Florida during season on a Friday night? And she was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That's not like how it is. So I understand. But it's like, you think it was Christmas time down here. It's season meaning the snowbirds are here. And tonight's obviously Friday night. It's on Valentine's Day weekend. Embrace the good. You know, when AOC, I don't know what the hell she's doing in Munich, but she's out there talking about foreign policy. There is no foreign policy. You're either, as Trump said, with us or you're against us. And as long as you don't mess with the Western Hemisphere, that's it. If she talks, I'm going to put her on because I haven't heard the idiocy that she's out there saying in Munich. I would love to hear what she's saying in Munich, and you will hear, the basic capitulation to other countries. No, it's the other way around. Other countries need us.
Surprise here, or a downside surprise. Year over year at 2.4 had been expected at 2.5%. And I think one of the reasons is this rent of owner's equivalent rent coming in at a relatively low 0.2%.
Hold on. They got her ready to talk. Hold on. Let's listen to this. Which button? Is this one?
Not to have the world turn to isolation, but to deepen our partnership on greater and increased commitment to integrity to our values.
What? What the hell did that even mean? And why is she in Munich with Newsom and some of these communists and Hillary out there talking to them how, how things could be if Trump wasn't here? Good luck with that.
Energy down 1.5%, gasoline down 3.2%, new vehicle sales up 0.2. I am looking for the core number, CPI year over year 2.4, ex-food energy, that came in at consensus plus 2.5%. And real earnings were pretty good, up 0.5% after declining in the prior month. So this looks like a good CPI number. You did have, by the way, a tick down in yields, as you might imagine. They were down at 4.
Well, Kate, look, this is some encouraging news on the cost of living, right? Inflation took a big step in the right direction to start the year off. So consumer prices up by 2.4% year over year. That is an improvement from 2.7% in December. That beat expectations, which were for 2.5%. In fact, this is a new 8-month low for annual inflation, month over month. Prices up by 0.2%. Also a step in the right direction, also beating expectation. Now, economists look really closely at core inflation, which excludes food and energy. Core inflation came in at 2.5%. That's notable because that's the lowest annual inflation rate for core since March of 2021.
Core, food, the stuff that actually matters to you, energy, housing. Lowest since 2021. Nobody wants to talk about that. This is the kind of stuff that wrap your arms around, because these are going to be the decisions you need to make in your own personal life, what you're going to do. If you see these numbers and understand, the core inflation just keeps dropping. And then you realize the only thing that can screw this up, well, the Supreme Court tariffs could screw it up, but President Trump says he's got a plan there. But the only real thing is that these people get back in power. They can't wait to screw it back up. They can't wait to put you back on a hamster wheel.
Or the inflation crisis.
Joe, if the Democrats want to compete on the 2026 economy, I think Republicans, House, Senate, and local candidates, they are willing to do it.
Bingo. If you guys want to come into 2026, if you want to go into the midterms and you want to challenge us on the economy, you're screwed. So I would love to know the platform that these people are going to run against Republicans. Virginia. Oh, you thought that she was a moderate. You thought Cruella DeVille was going to make everything good, and she walks in, and 30 days later, she's raising taxes on everything. I need to take your money. I need to stay a sanctuary city or sanctuary state. You think people in Virginia really want that? Mondami can't even figure out what to do with snow. You see, one of the problems that we're having is you have children elected here who don't know anything. Unfortunately, our founding fathers were all businessmen, and they probably thought, you know what? We're all going to be businessmen when we run for office, right? Yeah, that's why we're going to make sure that there's sessions so we can go back to our business. They didn't think about it that, eventually in 2026, we'd have bartenders running for office who have no experience and no knowledge in economics whatsoever. They talk about the core issues, food, housing, energy. They don't have any experience in any of those avenues. None. Most of the people online don't have any experience in food, energy, and housing. And so I look at this giant shell game that's happening, and I'm like, what was that garbage she just spewed out of her mouth? But that's how it is. And I'm going to show you that it's not just the Democrats who have that problem. There are some elected Republicans who have no clue and got in. And now I had told Ashley, I can't do this anymore. We got to be very careful who we put on as guest, because these Republicans, they'll come on and then eventually they get exposed. And then you sit back and go, oh my God, what are these people doing? And that's why we've been focusing on different kinds of guests, because I can't trust politicians. And I have to be nice, because the other question I would ask them, so what the hell are you talking about? And they would get upset. And I don't want to upset people that way. But trust me, a couple times where I've talked to people, and I told Ashley, I'm like, they don't have a freaking clue, man. It's bad. They're one or two onion layers away from just staring at the screen.
As I said, we're seeing things kick in now. But look, after you've been in a massive auto pileup, you're a little skittish about driving. And Joe Biden crashed the economy. Whether it was Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, these policies were a disaster for the American people. As I said, 21.5% cumulative inflation, loss of real purchasing power. And our friend at Strategas, Jason Trennert, had something called the Common Man Index. So for working Americans, the numbers weren't at CPI. It was up in the 30s in terms of groceries, insurance, rents, and we're bending the curve on all those. And there are two ways to fix affordability. There is bringing down prices, and things like energy. Energy is coming down. Energy is a core component of everything for consumers. So as that comes down, we will see the inflation levels come down. But on the other side, it's real income increases, and we saw real wage growth in 2025. I think it could be very strong in 2026, and I think the American people are going to start feeling it. In my career on Wall Street, I always looked to see what was performing well in the stock market to tell me about the economy, and as we've seen, there's been some volatility in big tech, but if you look at the broad indices, whether it's the equal weighted S&P, or the small cap indices, they're doing.
This guy is so brilliant that most people don't even know what he just said. And luckily, finance is the old dog that can be taught new tricks. Because most of the stuff he just said are fundamental items in the economy, the indices. These are things, once you learn them, you can be 40, you can be 70. And you can begin looking at the indices and understanding what's happening. And so it doesn't take a long time. Some people aren't good at math, but they do understand reading, and you can just read. What's he talking about? CPI. What's he talking about? These core elements. What is he talking about? Indices. And when you look at this stuff, instead of the stuff that does nothing for your life, it'll change. I've seen people in the chat. They're like, yeah, I looked that up and wow, I'm starting to understand more so that you can make moves personally. And so I'm not preaching or talking down to anybody. I'm just trying to tell you, this is fantastic news. But if I say it's fantastic news and you have no idea what the hell Barry's talking about, it doesn't make any sense. It's like Barry smiling and loving this, but I don't know what he's loving. I don't understand. And of course, the media and other people don't teach. You're not taught this in school. And so when Scott Bessent's talking, I listen. This guy's been, involved in high finance for decades. And when Trump's talking, I listen. I understand what he's been doing for decades. And then with that, I can see how the meter goes like that. And it becomes much more comfortable to where I say, this is fantastic news.
Fantastic. The cyclical indices are
I didn't know that was the next word, I promise.
Doing well. Regional banks are doing well. So that tells me the stock market is saying that Wall Street is saying that Main Street's going to have a great year in 2026. And I think the American people will feel that.
Well, look, the administration, the president, has long been making the point, despite the panicins,
it's bad when the word panicins is part of what the White House is saying. This is a White House deputy press secretary. And she comes right out and says panicking. So it's too funny.
Economic policies that this president has implemented have been a proven success in his first term and now in his second term. This combined formula of tax cuts, of deregulation, of lowering inflation, unleashing American energy, all of these president's actions combine to making a stronger economy, more money in the pockets for the American people. So today's report proves that. Of course, the jobs report also coming out this week proves that. We had 170,000 private sector jobs added in this country, 40,000 public sector jobs removed. That is what this president has long been talking about, that these policies are delivering on his promise to make America wealthy again and deliver a stronger economy for Americans all across this country.
Bingo. Absolutely. He's delivering on those promises. And so I know there was a lot of data in that little 15, 13-minute string of videos. There's a lot to talk about there. But in bottom line, underscore it, is that for 2 or 3 days, we've got a bunch of reports in that show completely green pasture in front of us for the economy. And I personally don't believe that's going to turn brown, except if these people end up getting in the office in November. So that's something for you to take for the weekend and go, man, this sounds pretty good. I need to learn more about it. I need to get involved, participate. All right, I'll be back in 90 seconds. We're going to talk about the getting spied on. They lied.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Can we put back on the screen what the Attorney General of the United States brought to the hearing today, specifically about the Congresswoman, because I think it's important. Congresswoman, were you aware that you were being, and not just you, it seems, but if they've tracked you, I would believe it's they tracked other people. So were you aware of this, one? And two, have you reached out to the Department of Justice, specifically the Attorney General's office, to follow up and ask, what the hell was that?
Well, I absolutely will be doing that. We're in the...
Well, let's talk about this, okay? Again, how you can know people are full of crap. I'm going to have to rewind this a little bit. I want to stop and show you the picture she put up on screen. Hold on. All right, so we got this picture. And what this was during the hearing, as she was berating Pam Bondi had a pad and a pile of papers. And so what happened while she was talking, she was looking like this, and people could see what was on the paper. And it took them like a day to figure it out. And then they realized what she had in her hands was this individual, Jamila PayPal, whatever her name is, her search history in the files. So the government, the DOJ, knows every single search that every Democrat, actually anybody who accessed those files, they know what they were searching for. Now, understand what that means. What that means is Democrats went into the files that they haven't seen and were searching for specific items. Why would you be searching for specific items and names? You don't know whose name's in there. You haven't seen it. It was redacted. Who gave you the information that said, go search for these names? That's the first question. Here's the second thing to look at. A whole bunch of them went in. And the duplicity or the duplicative searches, they weren't there. So when Joe went in and Fred went in and PayPal went in, they all had different searches. Interesting. You would think each one of them would have Trump and this person, and this one would, I didn't. No, they all had different things they were going to search, meaning somebody told them, check this out. Look for this, this, and this. And I want you to look for this, this, and this. And I want you to look for this, this, and this. So they had an army of people go in who all decided to search for different search terms to find out certain information that they were told to look up when they wouldn't have known to look. I want that to sink in. Why did they have different, how did they know what to search? Interesting, isn't it? So they went in and they went and searched, and then she walks into the hearing. Yeah, so I got these notes here, and on this side, they're seeing this document. And they're like, what is that? And that is specifically what this individual, J. Papal Pramafara, or whatever her name is, that's what she was searching. So now they find out they've been had. They gotcha. They've got evidence on whoever it is you were searching for, on whoever's behalf you were searching. See, a couple things can happen right now. One, who were you looking for? Because now we know to look for it. Now, as the DOJ, we know to look for the person that you were trying to find out. Is he in the clear? So I got that. Number two, I have evidence of some sort of campaign that everybody was searching for different things. Interesting. Number three, see what shows up in the news. If there's things in there we spiked to see who the leaker is, we will know as soon as they leak it. So now the Democrats gone home for the weekend are freaking out with tight sphincters because, oh my God, they're spying on us. And that became the refrain.
I believe they tracked other people. So were you aware of this, one? And two, have you reached out to the Department of Justice, specifically the Attorney General's office, to follow up and ask, what the hell was that?
Well, I absolutely will be doing that. We're in the process of working on a letter right now. All of us.
Can I just say, because there are people watching that are going to say, they're always sending a letter. A letter is how you register.
That's how we register our dissent. But also you.
Oh, so she was just describing a process, meaning there's a rule on how, quote, you register your dissent. You have to, follow certain rules, right? Right. Okay. So you're going to follow the rules and you're going to send this, strongly worded letter because that's what you're supposed to do, because that's what, we're told you have to write a letter. Got it. I want you to remember that process. She understands the process.
I've seen that Mike Johnson even said he thought it would be completely inappropriate if it was true that the Department of Justice, I don't know what words he used, I'm going to use my words, was spying on us, because that's what this was. I mean,
okay, now I'm going to give you a play on words here. Speaker of the House, who's in charge of all these nuts, says it'd be really inappropriate if Pam Bondi was spying on you. Because that would be inappropriate. For me to send spooks out there, whether CIA, FBI, or whatever, to be looking at you, it would be inappropriate to be spying on somebody. You have to listen to the words and read the words that people actually say. It would definitely be inappropriate. I would probably agree. It would be inappropriate to spy on one of these members of Congress. Because at this point, there's no predicate. Why would you be spying on somebody? Just fishing around? Remember the word spy. And then you got to remember the word process and rule. And we're going to get to that.
We have a separation of powers, which means that we need to be able to do our legislative duty, and for us to go in to review the Epstein documents and then to know that they have kept the search history of exactly what we searched for. And why was it that she brought that in her binder, which we call her burn book, right? Was she going to use that against me?
No. See, when I said these people are stupid, it's because either they play stupid or they're actually stupid. Why would Pam Bondi, a seasoned prosecutor, a seasoned prosecutor and testifier, have that so you could see it? Why would she have that? Because it was intentional. You don't have to wonder. This woman knew exactly what she was doing. Everything is choreographed. Everything is calculated. She wanted you to know. Now, she didn't want you to know when you did it, but she definitely wanted you to know, guess what? Yeah, that's why. Because now we're watching for something else. We're watching for the panic. We're watching to see the reaction. We're watching to see what you do. We're watching for this to disappear out of the news very quickly. Won't see many stories now, right about now. It's gone. They had an initial push and then done. Because somebody told them, you're effed. Stop pushing it. You're wondering why? She told you why. She told you because she wanted you to see that she knew. And one of the biggest things with a trap is to let people know you've been trapped. Because now I'm into stage 2. Now I'm into the stage of, what are you going to do about it? You going to send me a strong letter?
Did they get that document for every single person? And what were they going to do with it? We need a new process. That's what we're going to demand from the Department of Justice. That's what I'm going to tell Mike Johnson as well when I get to speak to him. I left him a message on the way here. Because we need a process where we know that the Department of Justice is not spying on us as members.
Wow. You've been in Congress. I don't know. I've seen her face for probably 5 or 6 years. And it just dawned on you on, I don't know, February 12th yesterday. Now you just figured out the Department of Justice is, quote, spying on you? These people are stupid. You just now figured out. Well, we'll get back to that.
Of Congress.
That Pam Bondi had, and they had preserved essentially, as you mentioned, search histories of sitting members of Congress on the Epstein files. They were looking at what members.
See, that's how stupid you are. You think they've just been looking at you. Look at the Epstein file. Ah, shit, I said his name. Put a quarter in the jar. You think that's all they've been looking at. Just the history of you in this dude's files. That's it, huh? You're stupider than you look.
Congress were looking at, and they were using that, importantly, as ammunition against them, their own search histories against them in a hearing by...
I'm pretty sure she didn't bring it up. I'm pretty sure she didn't question you. I'm pretty sure, because I went back and looked, and she never said, oh, by the way, what's this? No, the only thing she did is show it to you. The only thing she did was reference what was on this side, but she allowed you to see this side. She didn't use it against you. She didn't even question you about it. You're lying. You're covering your tracks. We all can see it. I'm going to prove it.
Pam Bondi.
I just walked out of the Department of Justice where I was able to look at some of the unredacted Epstein files. What I saw was incredibly, incredibly disturbing and further emphasizes the fact that this is a massive cover-up by the Trump administration and the Trump DOJ, because there were so many redactions that seemed extremely unnecessary. Something that I wanted to know that I'm very aware of is that we know we are being tracked when we are in there.
I'm sorry. Did she just say we know? Did she not talk to PayPal or AOC? Did she? What do you mean? How do you know? I mean, I'd love to. Please do tell us how you know.
Yesterday during Pam Bondi's hearing in front of the Judiciary Committee, she was actually caught with a binder where she...
Oh, you didn't know. I'm sorry. I gave you too much credit. You're saying Pam Bondi was caught. She was caught letting you see something. She was caught because she allowed you to see something. So just understand this. The Attorney General printed something out, stuck it in a book, brought it to a hearing, let you see it, and you think she got caught. If I did something not right, I wouldn't bring it out in public so everybody could see it, lady. She wasn't caught. She was letting y'all know I gotcha. There's a big difference, and now they're all freaked out.
Had members of Congress and their specific search histories when they were in there, which is just absolutely appalling and ridiculous.
You know what's funny about this? And I think this is why they had to stop, shut up, don't talk about it, because they were making the videos and telling people what they were doing. And I'm sure other people like, well, what the hell were you searching? So, tell us, tell us what all y'all were searching. To me, if somebody gave me access to those files, what would you search for? First thing I'd search for video. Next thing I'd search for picture. I'm not looking for names. Names don't mean anything. You're never going to prosecute somebody because somebody's name is there. I want to know about pictures. I want to know about videos. So you just told the world that you put this camera up to your face and said they were looking at all of our searches. Maybe we shouldn't tell people we were searching for very specific things in a big document dump that we don't even know what's there. What the hell were you searching?
So I'm aware that when I was in there with documentation of what I was going to look for, Pam Bondi in this.
So you went there with documentation of what you were going to look for. You just said that on video. So when you get called in, they're going to ask you, where's that documentation that you were talking about? You see, they just walked into this. And they're too stupid to understand what they've walked into.
Corrupt DOJ are aware of that as well and are very much tracking that.
Your colleague, Representative Jayapal, said a short time ago on X that AG Bondi had a list at that hearing today of which email she had searched when she went to view the unredacted files. Your response to this?
Yeah, listen, we knew that AG Bondi had what we called a burn book. And it seems like that she also had a lot of intel that seems to, be a violation of the separation of powers, right?
Yeah, go ahead and bomb it all over, what is this, ABC. Say whatever you want. Sounds good. Separation of powers. Really? I'm telling you, these people are stupid. I'm going to prove it to you. Absolute stupid.
We know that we, as members of Congress, have been granted by law that was signed into law by this president to be able to review what is going on within that branch of government.
All right, so she's absolutely correct. By law, you have access to the documents. Is there anything you've read in that law that precludes the Department of Justice to be seeing what you're looking at? Short answer, no. But of course, the chick at ABC. Again, just like with Grok, if you don't know the questions to ask, then you just let people spew crap.
And she decided that basically she was going to be big brother on us and have a list of who all reviewed what. And for why, I don't know. But we absolutely learned of this today. And I absolutely believe that not only judiciary, but most likely oversight is going to respond.
She doesn't know why. She just learned of it today because she let you see it. You understand what you're seeing here? These people ran to cameras. Oh my God, she was looking at her stuff. We need to do oversight. Oh, it's going to be a quick hearing, honey.
And the other thing I saw on photos, I'm not on judiciary, so I wasn't in the hearing, but in the Judiciary Committee, she had her folder open, and you saw an image of a search history of a member of Congress in the software, in the database. Why is the DOJ, why is the Attorney General carrying around a folder of the search histories of members of Congress who only simply want the truth? And she should answer for that. And I think she should come before the Oversight Committee because I have a lot of tough questions.
I had to show her because in the essence of being fair, Nancy Mace is a Republican, I thought, and she said the same thing. You know, like I told you with the guests we've had on the show, we've had Nancy Mace on a couple times. I doubt she'll be back because something happens to these people. A switch goes off and it leaves you like, oh my God, her too? Her too? Are these people that stupid? And I say stupid because everything, every single one of them said, including Nancy Mace, was complete bullcrap. Let me prove it to you. All right, let me pull this up. I wrote this earlier today. And it says, did the DOJ really spy? See, that's the word you need to focus on. Did the DOJ spy on members of Congress? Nope. Nope. I asked Grok because it's the easiest thing to do. This is the exact prompt I put in, so you guys could put it in yourself. What statement is on government computers, including on Congress and the Senate, in relation to the expectation of privacy and monitoring? What's the exact thing every single person in the Senate and Congress see when they get on a government computer? Every single one of them. The answer, the standard statement or warning banner displayed on U.S. government computers, including those used by federal agencies, executive branch departments, and also often legislative branch systems like those in Congress and the Senate, explicitly notifies the users that they have no reasonable expectation of privacy. I just want you to sink in before you log on. Hey, we're watching you. Which many of you know if you work in a corporation. You come in today, how you doing, Joe? Got my donuts and coffee. I'm getting ready to log on to the system. Hey, by the way, we're watching you. If you ever worked for a decent sized company, when you got your employee handbook, it said, yeah, I'll sign this, but on this page down here, it says, yeah, when you log on, we're watching. And by the way, we're also watching your social media and this and that. So these people who just pretend like, I don't know what's happening, had to get to a login screen sometime in their career. Somebody had to explain to them, you're on a government computer. We're watching. The banner appears at login or system access and serves as a, quote, notice and consent mechanism. It informs users that the system is government-owned for official use only, subject to monitoring, not spying, monitoring, and that any communications or data may be intercepted, audited, searched, or seized for lawful government purposes. You agree to that? You would think some of these people who are sworn elected officials would know this. By proceeding, the user, quote, consents to this monitoring. You, by logging in and accepting this notification, says, yes, I understand, I consent. That's pretty much the end of that inquiry, isn't it? And this is what it actually says. A common version of this banner, widely used across federal systems, includes examples from NST, USDA, DOJ, and others, reads approximately as follows. You are accessing a U.S. government information system, which includes 1, this computer, 2, this computer network, 3, all government-furnished computers connected to this network, and 4, all government-furnished devices and storage media attached to this network or to a computer on this network. It's over. If you went like this, you gave us permission to see what you're doing. You think I'm lying? Go ahead and do something at work and see how fast the guys in the suits come seeing you. It gets better. You understand and consent to the following. You may access this information for authorized use only. Unauthorized use is prohibited and subject to criminal and civil penalties. Bang, bada boom, bada bing. You consent to me throwing your ass in jail if you do some unauthorized stuff. So I hope you didn't do anything untoward. I hope you didn't search for something or send something or copy something and then give somebody else that information. Otherwise, you're fucked. That's what they're worried about. That's why the media and everybody else had to. I don't know nothing about it anymore. Yeah, they made that video on X. I don't know. I didn't see no files. Nobody sent anything to me because there's been no stories. There's no story, then all of a sudden there's no leak. There's nothing from the New York Times or Washington Post where somebody said, oh yeah, we got, no, I didn't get anything. Yeah, okay. Continue. You have no reasonable expectation of privacy regarding any, not some, not just the X guy files, any communication or data transiting or stored on this information system at any time. For any lawful government purpose, the government may monitor, intercept, audit, and search and seize any communication or data transited or stored on this information system. Any communications or data transiting or stored on this information may be disclosed or used for any lawful government purpose. Accessing and using this system indicates your understanding of this warning, your admonishment. Variations exist across agencies. Some emphasize no reasonable expectation, but the core message about no expectation of privacy and ongoing monitoring is consistent. So everything you saw in those videos I stitched together was complete BS, including Nancy Mace, including a former guest on this show who's gone bat poop crazy. That's why I was saying earlier, these people, hate to say that some of these people are stupid, but how do you not know that everything you do on a government computer has the potential to be monitored? Because if you didn't know it, with the guy in the islands files, now you got to sit back and go, wait a second, what else did I access? I've been here for quite some time. What else have I accessed? What else have I sent to the media? What else have I dropped? They know it all. They know everything you've done. They know everything you've accessed. They know everything you've downloaded. They know everything you've emailed, which is why people like Hillary had like 18 phones. You're not that smart. You walked in and went, let me look in these files. You guys understanding this now? I hope you do. This stems from federal policies, Department of Justice recommendations, and guidance from bodies like CISA, Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency. You remember you guys used that against Trump, which outlined required elements for such banners to establish consent and eliminate privacy claims under cases like O'Connor and Ortega. So you don't have any claims. You don't have any investigative evidence or anything to talk about. You gave up your right. For Congress specifically, the House of Reps Central website privacy policy notes that the government computer system monitors network traffic for security and users consent to monitoring. Every single one of those people was in the House. Similar policies apply to Senate systems as well, emphasizing no unauthorized access and potential monitoring. While exact login banners for internal congressional computers are not always publicly documented, and I'm going here, you can't do it, including no privacy expectation language. That's it. That, my friends, has got these people's goose cooked. And now they're in trouble because they indeed tried to tell everybody what they saw and that Pam Bondi was spying on them. And that's also why Mike Johnson was, yeah, it's inappropriate for people to spy on you. Spy on you. Nobody spied. You gave them the right to look. It's kind of hard to say somebody spied on me when you gave them authorization to look to see what you're doing. That's pretty much out the window, which again is why I think the story died quickly. They're terrified. They're absolutely terrified at this point that even the media can't bail them out anymore. Yeah, even internet service providers can monitor stuff. They played themselves. and what I just showed you, everything I just showed you is readily available. The media could have done that, but the media knows. These people work for CBS, CNN, ABC, CNN. Oh, they know when they show up to work, they got their key card. Oh yeah, how you doing, Fred? Hi, I'm going up. They got to go up the elevator, and when they get into the office, they have to log on to a computer that says the exact same effing thing. And every one of you who worked in a corporate environment, you know that's true. All right, so let's continue with what actually happened. I was going to spend a whole lot of time reading up on what Pam Bondi did, but then I find, as I often do, somebody who spells it out even better than I would have written it. So I found this anon, and this guy calls himself Mr. Poole. And he says, Pam Bondi just played the greatest trap in political history, and the Congress walked right into it. Yesterday, as we already know, she pulled out a document labeled search injury, and the room went silent. Here's what happened. The DOJ gave Congress access to the unredacted files this week. Every member got their own login, every single one, their own computer, government computer, and their own session. What Congress didn't know that DOJ was tracking every single search. Every name they looked up, every document they opened, every file they downloaded, all of it. Every single bit of it. Excuse me, the panic was instant. PayPal called it spying. Raskin sees blatant abuse of power. Moskowitz said it was suspicious and inappropriate. They're furious. They're furious, but here's the question nobody in the media is asking. Why are they so afraid of their search history? That's what you have to ponder right now. Why are you so worried about what you're searching? That's what you wanted. You would think, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I was looking all through it. I was looking for everything. Why are you worried about us having your search history? And here's why. If you're searching for evidence of crimes against kids, you'd be proud of that search history. Yeah, absolutely. Unless you're not searching for evidence, you're searching for your own name, and I will add names of other people that you know. See, that's what you don't want people to know. You don't want the government to know who you were looking at. Who is it that you were worried about that you had to search for? Think about yourself. If you got access to this computer and you walked up, what would you be looking for? Are you just going to sit there and go, Fred Johnson, Larry Smith, Jane Doe? and just spend your time going through 6 million documents? Or would you be surgical? I need to find out this. Because that search that you make is intentional. You've all used Google. You understand when you put a search in Google, you're looking for something specific. Where's the closest bakery? Where's the closest tailor? It's something specific. And so they were looking for something specific. Why? That's what's going to get asked. Continue. Bondi didn't release the files. She released them on monitored computers. Every congressional member who rushed to search just told the DOJ exactly what they're trying to protect, what names they're worried about, which connections they're trying to verify. The ones searching for flights to the island, investigators. The ones searching for specific names, protectors. Because you and I, other than the obvious ones, I mean, we'd probably search Trump, we'd probably search Adam Schiff, we'd probably search, different, prominent people. But if you come in there with a search looking for Fred Wilson, who's Fred Wilson? Who's Jane Doe? Why are you searching for these people? Why would it even cross your mind to run a search for Larry Lewis? Nobody's talking about them. They haven't been in the public eye. Let me make sure that's not there. These people are cooked. Absolutely, without a doubt, cooked. And, you guys can go to this and read this whole thing. It's really long here. But Bondi knows who's investigating and who's covering up. And she showed them, she knows, in front of a camera with a smile. The DHS shutdown, perfect timing. While Congress panics about the search history, DHS is shutting down Saturday. Democrats block the funding. The same week Congress gets caught searching the files, they refuse to fund a department that investigates trafficking. Let that sink in. These files get released, which means people are searching, and there's information there, and the organization that looks for these kids will be shut down today. Coincidence? No, I don't believe there's any coincidence. So he actually just puts it in here in terms of outlining the pattern. Monday, they get the access. Tuesday, they search for names. Wednesday, Bondi reveals she tracked everything. Thursday, Democrats block DHS funding. Friday, the government shuts down. And all that means altogether is panic. Absolute panic. And you have to see that at this point. And they're caught. They are completely caught. What will happen moving forward depends on what exactly they were searching for. So I'm going to take a second and I'm going to get the next segment together because I want you to see this. It's pretty short, but stay tuned.
back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
On Jeffrey Epstein's 62nd birthday, he got an email from former Obama White House counsel Kathy Rumler. "Happy birthday. I hope you enjoy the day with your one true love," adding a smiley face. Epstein responded, "They say that men usually gave a name to their penis, as it would be inappropriate to make love to a total stranger." Rumler replied, "Hard to believe that there is still an open question about whether men are the inferior gender." This is one of just a few of the hundreds of emails that Rumler exchanged with Epstein during the final years of his life. Now the chief legal officer at Goldman Sachs, Rumler has said that she got to know Epstein through her work as a lawyer, and that the two were, quote, friendly in that professional context. But in the latest release of Epstein files from the Justice Department, photos of Rumler and messages between the two suggest they had a close personal friendship. Rumler discussed matters in her personal life, expressed gratitude for their, quote, friendship, sometimes concluded messages with, quote, XO and XOXO, and repeatedly fawned over gifts from who she called at times Uncle Jeffrey. Rumler even discussed possibly visiting Epstein's private island, asking in 2017 if she could take a, quote, day trip there, with emails suggesting Epstein tried to coordinate a private jet to pick her up. It's unclear if the visit ever occurred, and a Goldman Sachs spokesperson previously said Rumler never visited the island. Rumler's PR team referred CNN's questions about her birthday exchange with Epstein to her attorney. The fact is, Miss Rumler does not make any statement about Epstein's penis. She does not reference it, she does not joke about it, she does not banter with Epstein about it, she does not accede to Epstein's unsolicited, gratuitous remarks about men and their penises. Nothing. In another message from July 2015, Rumler asked Epstein if he read a New York Times story which featured critics of sex offender registries, like the one he had been listed on for several years by then. Thinking about whether there is an opportunity there, Rumler wrote. Asked about that exchange, a Rumler spokesperson told CNN, at times, Epstein sought informal advice and she provided feedback based upon her understanding at the time, without any formal involvement. Months later, Rumler wrote that helping Epstein with his, quote, legal was important because, quote, friendships goes two ways. A spokesperson for Rumler told CNN she, quote, has done nothing wrong and has nothing to hide. Nothing in the records suggests otherwise. Jeffrey Epstein was a man of 1,000 faces. Miss Rumler only saw the one he put on to win people over and gain credibility and acceptance. Her views were shaped by that and his denials of any wrongdoing other than what he had pled guilty to years prior. Miss Rumler has deep sympathy for those harmed by Epstein. If she knew then what she knows now, she never would have dealt with him at all.
A few moments later.
Breaking news. There is new fallout amid the release of the Epstein files. The top lawyer at Goldman Sachs, Kathy Rumler, is stepping down after emails showed that she had a close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Rumler was also White House counsel to former President Barack Obama. Newly released documents show that she called Epstein Uncle Jeffrey and accepted luxury gifts from the disgraced financier. Her resignation takes effect June 30th, and in a statement, Rumler said in part, "My responsibility is to put Goldman Sachs' interest first." The company's CEO said, "She will be missed. I accepted her resignation, and I respect her decision."
It's more than she will be missed. You might be looking at someone who's having a funeral real soon. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. Well, I guess you say that when you're having weddings, but this is someone that Pam Bondi may want to get a hold of, because who knows, she may be looking for some safety at this point. There's no getting around who she was. This, I told you I wasn't going to talk about the guy on the island, because this story isn't about the guy on the island right now. This story is about him. Did we just see the first direct link to the island guy and Obama? It's very hard for them to get away from this at this point. She sat on the couch in the Oval Office. She was his attorney. She was White House counsel. She knew the intimate details of what was going on in the White House. And in this particular email, it says, "You need to talk to the boss." Agreed. And it goes on. Because now, what people need to, the focus was so much on the hunted And now the focus will turn to where he becomes the hunter. You didn't count on this. You didn't count on Rumler bailing out. This is where it was always going. This is why the Democrats were always freaking out. This is why they were always trying to pin stuff on Trump. This is what they were protecting all along. They don't care about some CEO here or some CEO there. This is the first direct contact we have, or connection rather, between the island crap and Obama. This isn't like wondering if, 30 years ago did Trump have him at a party. This is somebody directly tied to the President of the United States having intimate emails and meetings. The counsel for Barack Obama. Understand, when this story broke, almost nobody wanted to say what was really happening. When I found this clip from CBS, it was interesting. They were the first one who said, yeah, Obama. Everybody was saying, oh, the lead attorney for this and the lead attorney for that. But they didn't say Obama. And now we have a direct connection to Barack Hussein Obama. And I want you to see this. Alex Brusewitz says Obama's close friend, and they were close, and former White House counsel, she was his lawyer, Catherine Rumler, who was forced out of Goldman Sachs after her close ties to that guy, were exposed by the Trump administration, also represented George Nader. This is another name for you to go look up because now her clients are also going to be a part of this link during his involvement with the Russia collusion hoax. Nader was shortly thereafter arrested for, you got it, doing stuff to a 14-year-old boy. Birds of a feather, the company you keep, all of that right now. She was also his attorney. Rumler sure enjoys surrounding herself with child predators. She was his right-hand person. She was right there. And she did the same thing with Nader, who went to jail for 10 years. There's not a whole lot to really talk about in regards to this, is because you guys may have seen Nader. Where's Nader here? And it's interesting, this is coming up right before Hillary and Bill have to go make this, testimony. And there you go. The guy to the left of Bill Clinton is Nader. I'm not going to go there. I don't want people here to come after me and stuff, but you starting to see this now? You're starting to see that now we have the tie to the Obama, where this all, and in the entire incestuous loop of people that they were involved with. And this is going to be a story that you're probably going to have to search deep for, because nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to involve themselves with the great BHO, the chosen one, Barack Hussein Obama. But now the people who are going to dig are going to dig deep. I'm not sure if you recognize this woman. This woman here, who I have followed quite a bit. Let me just go to her profile. Her name is Svetlana Lakova. She's a British historian and eyewitness exposing the great conspiracy against President Trump, Spygate Exposed. She wrote that. And so she has been all over this for quite some time. Nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to give her the time of day. And she wrote this. Oh, let me see what this is. One of the biggest scandals the media is hiding from you. Obama's top lawyer, Kathy Rumler, was also that dude's lawyer. They both had the same clients. and had a long affair with his personal lawyer. She defended him even after he was convicted and was one of the executors of his estate. Rumler consulted him on everything, including on Obama, offering her the attorney general position. Rumler didn't want to leave her luxury New York City apartment to move to D.C. The scumbag was trying to find someone to pay for her apartment. Uncle Jeffrey was like, let me see if I can find a sugar daddy for you. Ultimately, Rommel moved to private practice at Latham and Watkins, where her specialty was getting her clients. And this is the kind of stuff people disappear for. Her clients, such as the Rothschilds. That's the scumbag connected her to the Rothschilds. Deals with Obama, DOJ, and allegedly getting cuts for herself and the other guy. See, those are the kind of names you put in a video, and you have to be very, very, very careful. When you start naming names like that family, it is incredibly beginning. Well, you see the picture that is now evolving. And you watch how little people actually want to talk about this, because now we're getting real deep here. This is where you guys can now start doing everything you need to and dig, because you know these people aren't. You're not going to see a lot of panicans. You're not going to see a lot of black pillars. You're not going to see a lot of media even want to touch this. We are going into the forbidden forest, per se. It's scary, because now the veil is being lifted. Everybody was looking, where's the connection? There's got to be something here. Yeah, we know he's a scumbag. We know the one in jail is a scumbag. No, you tried to blame it on Trump. It's not him. Now you know. Now you absolutely know. And Svetlana, the more she talks about this stuff, the scarier it gets. And what she's gonna have to be very careful. Let me show you this one she wrote, because she's been all over it. Rumler, Obama's quote close friend and quote trusted advisor, Obama's top lawyer and pick for attorney general. She refused after consultation with Uncle Jeffrey, but remained close friends with Obama. And there's just so much that's happening. It says ABC and CBS and CNN refuse to cover this. So it's more of Guthrie's drama, but there's Guthrie's husband. Okay, here we go. Yo. Guthrie's husband, Rothschild partner, the Lawyers Club of New York. So what is this all about? And I'm pointing at Fox and their continual stuff about Guthrie, and you can go dig now. Now on Friday afternoon, we'll be here for like 3 hours. Now you have some stuff to do. Get your shovels ready. Start looking at Guthrie and her husband. What did her husband do? Who was he connected to? See, a lot of people don't know the incestuous nature of everything in the Washington media. Go look up and see who Margaret Brennan's husband is. If you haven't dug into some of this stuff, you're going to go, oh my gosh, it's all the same people. They're all involved. And now you're going to see it just disappear. No one's going to want to talk about it. No one's going to. I challenge you. I challenge you over the next couple of days to see how many people are going to be talking about this and everything else. She actually said something else here. Where is it here? She's written so much about it. She's like all over it. It ties into Durham. It all goes to the same place. There's some people's names she mentions. Like in this one, she goes, Durham investigated that guy. He was the main co-sponsor, pull all the DOJ records on him. There's more than enough to arrest him. Specifically look at his financing of Fusion and Mark Warren and man, we now have the link. You all now have the link. And watch how quickly all of this stuff disappears. Well, they'll try to disappear it. It is up to you to begin digging. And maybe, you feel comfortable sharing certain things, but I'm just going to tell you, be careful. And I'm not saying this because of to be hyperbolic or over dramatic here. Yeah, this third rail stuff. At this point, Obama, direct tie. And then there's also a tie to that family. And so now the dominoes are being put in place. We are reaching the precipice of no return at this point. Yeah, exactly. People should be all over this just like they were when Trump was. Yep. Exactly. Still, will anybody be put in handcuffs? I'm going to close with your statement. Stop looking for handcuffs. And I do mean that sincerely. We have to get people to stop looking for arrests and handcuffs. You are not going to arrest anybody tied to the Rothschilds. Ain't going to happen. You ain't going to get any conviction on anybody who's connected to that family. It's not going to happen. Obama and anybody else involved was smart enough to basically know, other than an email saying Uncle Jeffrey or something, there's no crime in her emails. Everything you just saw, there is no crime. Unless there's a video of Obama doing something to a kid, there's no evidence in terms of being prosecutorial in nature. What we want, and where the prize is at this point, where people say accountability, is exposure. That's worse than being arrested. They're going to laugh at being arrested. They will never get convicted. One thing we should know right now, if this is the evidence, emails, their attorneys will laugh at this. But what you're seeing right now is visible accountability. And that visible accountability is why Kathy Romer went, yeah, I'm done. You got me. I'm out. Because now people are like, well, Goldman Sachs, did you know this? Because that's the kind of stuff that can topple these people. It's the financial aspect and the visibility. These roaches don't want visibility. And here's why they really don't want visibility. I'm going to be careful here. Ashley even said this to me yesterday. You ever known any drug addicts in your life, any alcoholics in your life? And those drug addicts and alcoholics, the last thing they wanted you to find out that they were a drug addict or an alcoholic. They go back into the deep recesses. They don't like the family interventions. They don't like the spotlight. But they still do the drugs. They still do the booze. Because they don't want to stop. Eventually, you may pull some people out of it that you know. But for the most part, man, I gotta have that. Gotta have this. What do you think about these people and what they have to have? See, while everybody's focusing on what Ghislaine and the idiot did back then 12 years ago, nobody's talking about what these people are still doing today. And I hope a bunch of you just went, oh, you think they stopped? You think if that was what their predilection was, if they like doing those kind of things, you think they stopped because he's no longer here? Did the drug addict stop? Did the alcoholic stop? Did the porn addict stop? Or they just move on and continue their behavior? See, that's what we need to be focusing on. If you're focusing on what has been, it's going to be very hard to stop what is being done right now. These people may go back into the shadows. They may shun themselves for some time, but at whatever time of day and that urge happens, they're going to make a phone call to somebody and they're still doing it. You see, one of the things the movie Sound of Freedom should have shown you is it just keeps happening. It didn't stop. We're focusing on what happened instead of trying to stop what's still going on. So the arrest that everybody's looking for, you're chasing the wrong bone. If you really care, and it's one of those things where I just sit back and go, people aren't getting it. They're still doing it. They didn't stop. Why aren't we looking at who's still doing it? And that's what Tom Homan and Christie, and they're finding, 3,000 kids and 5,000 kids. They're still doing it. You want to cry? You want to be disgusted? You should know that right now, somewhere, some kid is being completely taken advantage of, and we're looking at files of a dead guy, hoping we get an arrest on something. And I've never seen anybody anywhere talk about the now, the here and now, the present day. What are we doing to stop the activity that every single one of you right now just probably thought about and went, yeah, they're still doing it. Why aren't we focused on that? Because this is bigger than an election. So I don't care about arresting somebody from stuff they did 20, 25 years ago. I want to start with the guys, the bad guys and the bad women who are doing it right now, because they're still doing it. And I hope a couple of you sat back and, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. They didn't stop because Uncle Jeffrey's not here. And so now getting into that network is what's important. And we're watching, Saddam Habib, whatever name, he resigned, and we're watching these people resign, and that gives us the impetus to go, okay, well, who are you hiding? What are you doing? And if it goes back to certain people like Obama, so that's what I think about that, and that's the reason why I haven't really freaked out about the e-files. Because I'm not a forensic person. I would rather focus on like Sound of Freedom and find kids who are currently being abused. Not these fake survivors. Current. How many kids right now? I'm going to leave you with that. How many current kids right now are enduring the most horrendous possible physical and mental cruelty acts right now, this weekend? And everybody's looking over here. I'm like, no, we need to focus here. And I feel like this one here might be the first thing for us to dig into, because you can always tell what the media's thinking when they ignore it. Why is Fox focused just on this? I don't know. But people are ignoring other stuff. They don't talk about the economy. They don't talk about current stuff happening. It's crazy. Yeah, look at all the people who are resigning their jobs, because the only reason you'd be resigning that job right now is that the people you work for are like, hey man, what the hell's going on? Why would I lose my job or resign today for something that happened, I don't know, 12 years ago? Because you're concerned that the spotlight is now coming to your company. And that's what we need to start digging in. And I'm telling you, it's going to lead to some names. Whew, boy. Yeah, if you believe the numbers reported, are at least 100 to 200,000. Big time. Anyway, so it is the weekend. I've got to go pick up, well, I'm not picking up Ashley, but get ready for Ashley and the kids to be here. I doubt that there will be a show this weekend, because my daughter, my lovely daughter, and the grandkids are going to be here. But if I do, I may post a recorded video or something, because I like my drive around videos. Hope you guys like those. All right, so let me do super chats, and then I will bid you adieu. And here we go. Here we go. All right. Move that over. And first and foremost, as you guys maybe go down those rabbit holes and you begin looking at some of this stuff, pray pray for your safety, pray for guidance, pray for all kinds of knowledge. Yep, I heard about Maricopa. That should be coming as well. Thank you, Johnny. Chapter savings 240. That's 2,400 per year. Wow. Wow. Congratulations. Susan Barry, I've been married 5 times, changed my name each time to get a real ID. I had to show my married license, so all BS. Yeah, it's pure BS. Johnny Bravo, no better way to spend a Friday. Love this entire family. Thank you for coming in. Cutting edge, my taxes give me this year $1,200 more. Man, love to hear this stuff. KRO, thank you, brother. AOC and Newscomb are creating alliances with the globalists now for backing in 2028. Guaranteed. Vielka, AOA is trying to get friendly, get foreign policy credibility. She's got none. Vielka, Dems are shutting down DHS to stall voting investigations. Scumbags. The Salty Sierra, Barry, all U.S. Yep, all government systems have a consent to monitoring, which I just showed you. And by the way, I posted that entire Grok article on my profile, so if you want to go take a look at it. Penny McCorder, even when I worked for the Postal Service, you are giving consent being monitored by the postal inspectors, where you log on a government computer and can be prosecuted for malfeasance or malicious intent. Do you know, maybe some of you know, have you ever been to Disney? Used to go to Disney? There is a sign at the front gate. It's got Goofy or somebody, so you probably don't even notice, but it says, entering these premises, you agree that we can like monitor you and use your likeness and film you and everything else. Same thing at Universal. You know, if you don't want to be filmed, don't go outside your house. Restaurants, everybody's filming nowadays. So, which makes this disappearance kind of odd. Maria, amazing how many in Congress simply don't understand how business operates. They really don't. Chiosop, just when these clowns think they got Trump this time, he turns the tables on them. Time to try them in a court of public opinion. And Rising Phoenix, Barry, bless you and your family. Thank you. So I want you guys to have a great weekend. Ashley, I, and the kids will with Robin. So we're looking forward to it. And I hope you guys got something out of this show. If you got something out of it, and if you need more impetus to dig and start to see like what the heck is going on, let me know. I would gladly direct you to where you can begin. And that one woman I showed you, Svetlana, start looking at her stuff. Her stuff is deep. There are people out there who are doing the work, who are showing people stuff, but the other ones are out there just, hey, did you see the greatest best? No, dig. Love you guys. Thank you. See you maybe this weekend sometime, but we'll see.
Live.